Chapter 233. During this period of time, Feng Shishir had used the spirit-gathering pill to absorb the spirit qi of heaven and earth. She had already accumulated a lot of innate qi, and the innate qi in her 8 main meridians had already increased to 3.6 inches. Now that he had obtained the Flood Dragon's inner core, his innate qi had increased with a whoosh. The Flood Dragon's inner core had an En attribute and was extremely compatible with Feng Shishir's purine body. A few hours later, when she had completely refined the inner core, her cultivation level had skyrocketed to the 5th grade of the qi refining stage. Feng Shishir opened her eyes, which were overflowing with color. She could not hide her joy and impatiently said, "Tang Zheng, my cultivation has increased again. I have reached the 5th grade of the qi refining stage." Tang Zheng smiled and patted her shoulder. "Congratulations." But when his gaze swept across her forehead, that bit of green was still there, causing his heart to skip a beat. Her cultivation had increased by so much, yet she still had not refined the Flood Dragon's poison. It seemed that the poison was really strong. Yi Yuan looked at her enviously, not knowing when he would be able to cultivate. Actually, speaking of which, Yi Yuan's fighting strength was already extremely strong, but this was because of the witch clan's own potential as well as their years of experience fighting with ferocious beasts in the forest. He did not have any innate qi in his body, but with the support of his innate qi, the power of the witch clan would explode with a resplendent light. 5 the sky had already darkened, and the 3 of them were surrounding the bonfire. Yi Yuan was focused on roasting the meat, which was of course the meat of the Flood Dragon. The meat was delicious, and it emitted a unique fragrance of roasted meat. When the roasted meat entered his mouth, it was fragrant and soft. Tang Zheng felt that it was much more delicious than the pork and beef he had eaten before. Furthermore, he could feel that when the roasted meat entered his stomach, the spirit energy emitted by the roasted meat was absorbed by his body. No wonder the witch clan wanted to use the flesh of the Flood Dragon to temper their bodies. In the middle of the night, the elder brought more than 100 clansmen to the sacred ground. They set up camp at the foot of the mountain and sent out a few teams to patrol the area. That night, no more beasts came to harass them. After everyone had gone to bed, Tang Zheng began to cultivate. Since the spirit qi in the Holy Land was more abundant, he certainly would not let go of this heaven-sent opportunity. In the darkness of the night, specks of red light were constantly being absorbed into his body. When the sun rose, everyone discovered a shocking scene. The soil and trees within 50 feet of Tang Zheng had all turned from red to green. Tang Zheng was also shocked. Could it be that it was because he had absorbed the red light? For the time being, he couldn't figure out the reason, and since he couldn't leave the Holy Land, he might as well cultivate while letting the giant egg absorb his true qi. This time, after his power had greatly increased, his true qi had undergone a qualitative change. After the huge egg absorbed the true qi, it also underwent a change. The mysterious patterns on the surface of the giant egg began to crack, forming small cracks. It was as if the giant egg was about to break out of its shell. When the elder heard the news, he was shocked and overjoyed. He vowed that the day when the restriction would be broken was not far away, and the witch clan would finally regain their freedom. Immediately, the enthusiasm of the witch clan rose to an unprecedented level. They patrolled even more attentively, and the surroundings of the sacred ground had indeed undergone an unprecedented change. The sacred ground that had been quiet for countless years had become extremely lively. In the past few days, fierce beasts had continuously attacked the sacred ground, but they were not demonic beasts. They were all blocked by the witch clan, and the elders had sent many people to protect the sacred ground. Tang Zheng took advantage of the time to ask about the forbidden area. The elder's expression was very serious, saying that the forbidden area was the most dangerous place in the 10,000 huge mountains, and there were indeed many demonic beasts there. According to the legends of the witch clan's ancestors, a very ancient great figure was buried in the forbidden area, and those demonic beasts were guarding his coffin. Even when cultivators were prevalent many years ago, that place was still an extremely dangerous place. The ancestors of the witch clan warned their descendants not to set foot in it. When the elder heard that Tang Zheng wanted to go to the forbidden grounds, he immediately dissuaded him and complained to Yi Yuan endlessly. How could he tell Lord Envoy about such a dangerous place? What if Lord Envoy was on a whim and something happened to him? Hearing that the forbidden area was so dangerous, Tang Zheng was a little hesitant. However, the most important thing right now was to break the restriction, so there was no need to rush. However, the snake poison in Fang Shishi's body had not been cured yet. The elder had thought of many ways, but could only temporarily control the poison. Every time Tang Zheng looked at the green spot on her forehead, his heart would feel as if it had been pierced by a needle. Fang Shishi, on the other hand, did not mind at all. She enjoyed the days she spent with him. Tang Zheng once again came to the stone hall. The temperature was still very high, but Tang Zheng was not as uncomfortable as before. Instead, he enjoyed the high temperature. When his hands covered the giant egg, his true qi was absorbed by the egg like a tide. His expression was very serene, and he didn't panic like the first time. The patterns on the giant egg glowed brightly, and the cracks gradually expanded. When Tang Zheng's Jinqi was completely absorbed, the expected repulsive force did not appear. The light of the patterns grew brighter and brighter, and the giant egg slowly rose into the air, revealing its full appearance from the boiling magma. Tang Zheng had used up all his Jinqi and was already exhausted. When the giant egg rose into the air, he was originally standing upside down. He accidentally lost his balance and fell straight into the magma. Tang Zheng turned pale with fright and screamed subconsciously, but there was nothing he could do. He could only watch as he fell into the magma. But in this critical moment, he still maintained a trace of calmness. He took out the War Soul sword from his Sumeru pouch, and the Yin Shi on the War Soul sword instantly covered his entire body. Plop! A large amount of magma splashed out, and Tang Zheng was immediately wrapped up by the rolling magma. His entire body was covered in the fiery red magma, and the bone-melting heat immediately drilled into his 8 meridians from the surface of his body. Immediately, screams resounded throughout the stone hall. Tang Zheng had never experienced this kind of feeling before. The surging heat seemed to want to melt him, and the surface of his skin became hot and blood red. If it wasn't for the Yin Shi on the War Soul sword protecting him, he would have died immediately and been melted by the magma. However, it was obvious that the Yin Shi wouldn't be able to hold on for too long, and he had no way of swimming to the shore in the magma. He could only jump up and down to prevent himself from sinking to the bottom of the pool and suffocating to death. At this moment, the giant egg had already risen above the pool. The light became more and more intense, almost making it hard for people to open their eyes. The patterns were spinning rapidly, and the cracks were gradually deepening. Tang Zheng wasn't in the mood to pay attention to the giant egg, because he was already on the brink of death. The pure yang energy in his body had also been detonated by the heat. It was simply an internal and external problem. In his dantian, the remaining pure yin energy began to take effect. After a while, it was completely neutralized by the pure yang energy. Finally, it was able to suppress the pure yang energy, allowing him to avoid the danger of his body exploding. However, the crux of the matter was that the magma had already broken through the defense of the Yin Shi, causing the War Soul sword to become restless. Its Yin Shi was no longer enough to contend against the rolling magma. All of a sudden, Tang Zheng let out a heart-wrenching scream. The Yin energy finally disintegrated, and his body came into direct contact with the magma. Although he had cultivated the chaotic Vajra spell, he had not even reached the first level of the copper skin realm. How could his physical body resist this lava? Tang Zheng could clearly see that his skin had already melted and his blood vessels were exposed. A large amount of blood flowed into the pool and merged with the magma. My life is over. Tang Zheng subconsciously glanced at the giant egg. All this was caused by this guy. Damn it, what exactly are you? I worked so hard to let you absorb the innate qi. And this is how you repay me? A white light suddenly appeared in the red light around the giant egg. This white light was incomparably resplendent and instantly covered the red light. It even caused the fiery red magma to reveal a trace of white light. Tang Jing only had time to see this white light before his consciousness became blurry and he immediately fainted. The patterns on the giant egg also rose into the air and shot straight towards Tang Jing's forehead. They entered the middle of his forehead and rapidly rotated. In an instant, the light covered Tang Jing's entire body. Tang Jing's skin and muscles had almost completely melted, and one could even see his internal organs beating. Seeing that the magma was about to melt his internal organs, at this time, the ray of light immediately stopped the magma from harming him. From all directions, streams of red energy converged towards Tang Jing from the magma. Under the effect of the ray of light, they were quickly absorbed into Tang Jing's body. The skin and muscles that had already melted actually grew back bit by bit. His body was being remodeled. If Tang Jing could see this scene, he would probably faint from shock again. At this moment, the chaotic Vajra spell in his body started to circulate on its own, seeping into his newly grown skin and muscles. The new skin glowed with a red light and was indestructible. He had actually reached the first level of the chaotic Vajra spell, the Copper Skin Realm. Furthermore, his Copper Skin Realm was even more powerful than the one obtained by cultivating the chaotic Vajra spell according to the rules. This was because he had been tempered and remodeled by the magma. Probably from ancient times until now, no one who cultivated the chaotic Vajra spell had ever been like him, who had almost completely melted his body and then remodeled it. This was because no one else had the same fortuitous encounter as him. The power of the light that enveloped him was extraordinary, and it was not something that a single person could obtain. After an unknown period of time, Tang Jing's flesh was newly molded, becoming completely naked, and the red light on his skin gradually faded away. This time, his skin was no longer snow white but bronze. It was a true bronze color, even more perfect and flawless than the ones obtained from sunbathing. The light wrapped around him as he slowly rose from the magma. He was like a sleeping baby, his face finally no longer showing signs of pain and struggle. He laid flat in the air, and then slowly flew towards the shore. When he landed on the shore, the light disappeared, and the mysterious pattern on his forehead also entered his skin, disappearing bit by bit until there was no trace of it at all. As for the giant egg above the pool, it was already completely enveloped by the white light. With a cracking sound, the white light suddenly expanded, filling every inch of space in the stone hall. A voice rang out from the middle of the white light. Chapter 234. This sound was a cry. It was clear, ethereal, and very penetrating. The white light gradually disappeared, and a small white thing floated in the air. It was covered in white fur, like a puppy. It was only 30 centimeters long, and it had a pair of big round eyes that were exceptionally bright. Its eyeballs were very strange. They were fiery red, like two balls of burning flames. It slowly fell into the magma, but it was not damaged in the slightest. Even its hair was not melted by the magma. Instead, it was like a child playing in the water, splashing out streams of hot magma. Suddenly, it stopped and lazily laid on the magma. It seemed to be tired from playing. It opened its pink little mouth and drank the magma. The lava that was strong enough to melt steel was drunk into its stomach just like that. It had a look of enjoyment on its face, and it didn't stop. The huge pool of lava was emptied in just a short while, and its stomach became round and round. It climbed out of the pool, and its two front paws were like two human hands. It hugged its round stomach, and its eyes were full of satisfaction. It tilted its head and saw Tang Jing. It directly climbed over. Seeing that Tang Jing was unconscious, it quickly patted Tang Jing's head with its little paws. Tang Jing suddenly opened his eyes and found that there was a white ball in front of him. He subconsciously reached out and grabbed it. That furry little paw immediately fell into Tang Jing's palm. Tang Jing froze for a moment. What is this thing? A puppy. His brain was a little short-circuited. Why would a puppy appear in this cave? However, in an instant, Another matter firmly occupied his mind. He remembered that he fell into the magma, and his body was almost completely melted. But now his whole body was intact. What was going on? He subconsciously looked at the pool and could not help but exclaim, "Ah, where's the magma? Why is it gone?" There was nothing in the pool, only the bare bottom. The magma had disappeared without a trace. His brain could not help but short-circuited. Everything was too strange. Creak, creak. Suddenly, the little fellow barked, pulling Tang Zheng back to reality. He found that he was still holding the puppy, and it was staring at him with its two fiery red eyes. "Where are you from?" Tang Zheng let go of his hand and asked. Creak, creak. The little fellow barked twice, as if answering his question, but Tang Zheng was at a loss. How could he understand? Seeing that Tang Zheng was indifferent, the little guy helplessly cried out twice and jumped onto Tang Zheng's shoulder. Before Tang Zheng could react, he found that there was a small thing on his shoulder. So fast, Tang Zheng only saw a white shadow flash in front of him. Its speed was unparalleled. His heart skipped a beat. This little guy was not an ordinary puppy. He still defined it as a puppy. It was impossible for a puppy to suddenly appear in this stone hall, and it was even more impossible for it to appear out of thin air. There was only one possibility. It had hatched from that huge egg. Although it was too strange for a puppy to hatch from an egg, Tang Zheng had even seen his own body being reconstructed, so it was not that hard to accept. Then this little guy must be extraordinary. It was actually related to the restrictions of the witch clan. Now that the giant egg had shattered, he did not know how the restrictions were. He couldn't wait to walk out, but the small family hugged his head tightly, not letting him fall. He stretched his neck and looked around curiously. Just as he reached the entrance of the cave, Tang Zheng heard a series of earth-shattering sounds. A gust of wind blew in from the entrance of the cave, causing him to stagger and almost fall to the ground. His heart trembled. Could it be that another demonic beast was attacking? Thus, he quickly walked out of the cave. He saw that the sky was dark, as if a large dark cloud was covering the sky. Of course, this was not a dark cloud, but a pair of huge wings. These two wings were each more than 10 meters wide, covering the sky and covering the sun. However, Tang Zheng still recognized this colossus at first glance, an eagle. However, this was an extremely large eagle, and without a doubt, this eagle was a demonic beast. The eagle demon flapped its wings, causing a strong wind to blow, causing sand and rocks to fly everywhere, causing the witch clan members to sway. Then, the eagle demon swooped down and grabbed a person with its huge claws. So. The spears in the hands of the witch clan members were all thrown into the sky. The eagle demon soared into the sky, causing the spears to miss, and then released its claws. The person who was clawed fell from the sky and was about to fall to the ground. Seeing that, Tang Zheng tiptoed and rushed towards the person, catching him. That person was so scared that his face turned pale. Seeing that he had been saved, he was extremely grateful. "Thank you, Lord Envoy." Tang Zheng patted him on the shoulder. The elder had already come forward to welcome him, and said nervously and pleasantly surprised, "Lord Envoy, the restriction has been broken." Tang Zheng was overjoyed. When a huge egg shattered, the restriction was automatically removed. It seemed that his original guess was not wrong. "What is this?" An eagle demon flew in from the west just now. It must have come for the sacred object in the cave and was temporarily stopped by us. This eagle demon is very powerful. Many of us are injured. Tang Zheng said with a dark face. "Have you seen it before?" "No, this eagle demon's strength is not inferior to the python dragon from a few days ago. It is extremely powerful. Lord Envoy has used up all of his innate chi. You rest first, we will deal with him," the elder advised. How could Tang Zheng just sit back and watch? Furthermore, when he woke up just now, he discovered that his innate chi had actually recovered to its peak state, so there was no doubt about his fighting strength. Tang Zheng unquestionably held onto the War Soul Sword and stood at the front of the crowd, staring at the eagle demon that was circling in the sky like a tiger eyeing its prey. The eagle demon also saw Tang Zheng, but in the end, its gaze landed on the little fellow. The eagle's eyes suddenly constricted, and it began to cry out. Squeak, squeak. Suddenly, the little guy stood up on Tang Zheng's shoulder and bared its fangs at the eagle demon in the sky, not afraid at all. When the eagle demon heard the little fellow's angry cries, its pupils suddenly constricted. It actually rose a little further, as if it was afraid of the little fellow. The elder's gaze was immediately attracted to the little fellow, and he hurriedly asked, Lord Envoy, what is this? Tang Zheng shook his head. I don't know what it is exactly, but I suspect that it hatched from that huge egg. The elder was immediately dumbstruck. He stared straight at the little fellow and said with incomparable excitement, if it was hatched from a sacred object, then it would be a holy beast. Tang Zheng was not in the mood to care about any holy beast for the time being. The most important thing was to deal with this eagle demon. Little guy, get off my shoulder first. I'll deal with this demonic beast, otherwise it won't be good if it hurts you later. Tang Zheng patted its little head and said. The little guy squeaked twice, expressing its protest towards Tang Zheng, but it did not get off his shoulder. Tang Zheng was helpless and could not care less about it. With a tap of his foot, he climbed up a towering tree, and then, as if he was walking on flat ground, he started to walk on the tree trunk and quickly rose up. In an instant, he was dozens of meters in the air, and the eagle demon was also circling at this height. Tang Zheng growled. He leaped up, and the war soul sword slashed towards the eagle demon. The eagle demon let out a sharp cry, and its sharp claws immediately grabbed towards the war soul sword. With a ding-dang sound, sparks flew in all directions. The war soul sword actually did not injure the eagle demon's claws. Tang Zheng's head thumped. This eagle demon was indeed much stronger than the python dragon. The war soul sword was actually unable to injure it. Whoosh whoosh. With a flap of his wings, a gust of wind blew. Tang Zheng was in the air, flying straight into the distance. Gigi. Suddenly, the little guy cried out angrily and opened its mouth. Seeing that, the eagle demon immediately retreated. Whoosh. A ray of flame shot out from the little guy's mouth. Although the two of them were separated by more than 10 meters, the flame instantly rushed over this distance and arrived in front of the eagle demon, igniting its feathers. The eagle demon let out a sharp scream, its eyes filled with fear. It glared at the little guy in anger and unwillingness, but the little guy waved its little claws and opened its mouth, as if it was going to spit fire again. The eagle demon was so scared that it immediately retreated, bringing with it a cloud of black smoke and flames as it rose into the sky, quickly escaping. This scene caused everyone to be dumbstruck. This little guy actually injured the eagle demon and even forced it to flee for its life. This showed how powerful it was. When Tang Zheng landed on the ground, he felt pairs of burning gazes focused on the little thing. Even he couldn't help but take the little thing off his shoulder and place it in his palm. The little guy opened its mouth again, aiming at Tang Zheng's palm. Tang Zheng was shocked, afraid that his palm would immediately turn into roasted pig trotters. However, it was obvious that his worries were unnecessary. The little guy did not spit out fire again. Instead, it stuck out its tongue and licked Tang Zheng's palm again and again, looking very intimate. The others surrounded them and looked at the little guy curiously. Fang Shishir could not help but exclaim, "What a cute puppy!" However, he immediately realized that this was definitely not a puppy. A puppy could not spit fire, and it could not force such a powerful eagle demon to retreat. Tang Zheng, what is it? Fang Shishir asked. Tang Zheng shook his head and laughed bitterly. I don't know either. As he spoke, he looked at the elder. The elder also had a difficult expression and said, I don't know what it is either, but there is no doubt that it is the holy beast of my witch clan. When the little guy heard the two words, holy beast, it nodded its head, as if saying that it was the holy beast. Then it looked at Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir complacently, as if it was very dissatisfied with defining it as a puppy. Tang Zheng looked at its charmingly naive appearance and could not help but laugh. Are you proud of saying that you are a holy beast? I think you really are more like a puppy. The little guy squeaked and protested twice, lying on Tang Zheng's palm, feeling wronged. Suddenly, Its ears stood up, and it looked into the distance vigilantly. Seeing this, everyone's heart trembled, and they all followed its gaze, only to see a rumbling sound coming from the west, as if many things were heading towards the Holy Land. Chapter 235. Everyone's expressions changed drastically as they listened to the rumbling sounds from the west that were getting closer and closer. It was like thunder, not only on the ground, but even in the sky. There were countless black dots flying over. Sogu, 360, so, demonic beasts, a large number of demonic beasts. Tangjing shouted. The others panicked. Just now, a single demonic beast was already so difficult to deal with. This large number of demonic beasts was simply asking for their lives. Seeing his clansmen panicking, the elder roared, "What are you panicking for? Don't we still have Lord Envoy? Lord Envoy, please give the order. What should we do?" All of them turned their gazes towards Tang Zheng. Even Fang Shishir could not help but focus his gaze on Tang Zheng. Without a doubt, Tang Zheng had become the backbone of this group of people. Tang Zheng's face darkened. He looked into the distance, the little fellow's squeaking sounds coming from beside his ears. Retreat. The sacred grounds is no longer important. Let's retreat to the tribe. If we really can't, we can also leave the 10,000 huge mountains. Tang Zheng would definitely not have a problem facing one or two demonic beasts, but facing too many of them, he would not be able to do anything. The elder looked at the sacred grounds, then looked at the little fellow on Tang Zheng's shoulder, and said, "All right, everyone go down the mountain immediately and return to the tribe as quickly as possible." Hundreds of people immediately took action. They only brought along their weapons and rushed down the mountain. Along the way, almost everyone discovered a strange place. The color of the rocks, soil, and trees had all changed. The red color retreated and gradually turned green. "Lord Envoy, what's going on?" the elder asked curiously. Tang Zheng thought back to the disappearance of the magma. Could it be related to that, or to the little fellow on his shoulder? However, it could not speak, and it was impossible to find out all the secrets from its mouth. However, Tang Zheng knew that the red energy was extraordinary. The red color that covered the entire mountain was actually retreating, so one could imagine how powerful it was. Where did this power go? He turned his head to look at the little fellow who was staring at everything curiously. Perhaps it could answer this question. Not long after, everyone arrived at the foot of the mountain. The thunderous rumbling sounds were getting closer and closer, and the earth seemed to be trembling. It was unknown how many tyrannical demonic beasts were attacking. They were definitely here for the Holy Land, but the key was that the giant egg had already hatched, and this little guy had also been born. Could it be that they still wouldn't give up? Could it be that he wanted to capture the little fellow and bring her back? Tang Zheng couldn't guess the demonic beast's motive, but no matter what, he couldn't just watch as the little guy was taken away. Everyone had already sat on the wooden raft and arrived at the center of the swamp. From afar, everyone could see dozens of tyrannical demonic beasts rushing out from behind. These demonic beasts were all very large in size. Some of them were even types that the elders had never seen before. From the other party's murderous aura and heaven-shaking roar, everyone could feel the murderous aura assaulting their faces. Although the demonic beasts were powerful, they had no way to deal with the swamp. After all, they would be trapped if they rushed into the swamp. Suddenly, a sharp cry rang out, and a large black shadow flew over from the sky. It was a dozen or so bird-type demonic beasts, but all of them were huge in size. It was as if they knew that the eagle demon was at a disadvantage, so they did not approach. They only circled in the air and kept flapping their wings. A strong wind blew, and the wooden rafts swayed in the swamp. They could overturn at any time and be swallowed by the swamp. The Witch clan had endless strength, and they all used bamboo poles to support the wooden raft, resisting the gusts of wind with great difficulty. "Throw the spear." The elder did not panic in the face of danger and ordered loudly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Dozens of spears soared into the sky and shot towards the group of demonic beasts. The demonic beasts circled around and dodged this round of attacks. Without a doubt, the demonic beasts were in an invincible position in the sky, and as long as the witch clan flipped over, they would be consigned to eternal damnation. Everyone understood this point very well, so everyone's faces were somewhat panicked and pale. Especially since there were demonic beasts on the shore eyeing them covetously, it made things worse. This was not the way to go on. Tang Zheng looked at the black mass of demonic beasts above his head, his heart moved, and the War Soul sword in his hand suddenly threw out. Whiz! The War Soul sword was like a hot knife through butter as it soared into the sky. The sword tip, that was suffused with a black light, seemed to be tearing through the air, and in the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of a demonic beast. The demonic beasts obviously did not expect a magic treasure to suddenly appear. The power of a magic treasure was far from what an ordinary spear could compare to. Just as the demonic beast was about to fly up and dodge the War Soul sword, the War Soul sword was even faster than it. With a poochie sound, it pierced into the demonic beast's body. The demonic beast let out an ear-piercing scream and started to churn in the air. When the other demonic beasts saw this, they did not escape. Instead, they became even angrier. They screamed and flapped their wings nonstop, causing an even bigger storm to sweep over. A wooden raft directly flipped over. The shamans lived in the swamps and forests all year round, so their adaptability was very fast. The moment the wooden raft flipped over, some people had already jumped onto other rafts, and some people who had already fallen into the swamp were quickly rescued by their clansmen before they sank into the swamp. But without a doubt, if this continued, as long as more rafts were blown over, there would definitely be people swallowed by the swamp. As for the demonic beast that was pierced by the War Soul sword, it kept flapping its wings in mid-air as it struggled on the verge of death. Not long later, its wings finally stopped, and it quickly fell into the swamp. With a bang, water and mud splashed in all directions. The dead demonic beast quickly sank into the swamp and was swallowed bit by bit. Not long later, there were no traces of it. Watching their companions die, the other demonic beasts almost went crazy. Not only the demonic beasts in the sky, even the demonic beasts on the shore were roaring nonstop. If not for the obstruction of the swamp, they would have already rushed up and torn everyone to shreds. Lord Envoy, we can't go on like this. More and more rafts will be blown over. The elder's face was ashen as he said anxiously. Tang Zheng said, Elder, don't worry, they just want to blow over our rafts like this. It's impossible. The elder revealed a puzzled expression. He did not know what other trump cards Tang Zheng had up his sleeves. Suddenly, a sharp scream rang out, and another demonic beast fell from the sky. Screams rose and fell one after another, and another 3 demonic beasts fell into the swamp. The demonic beasts were in chaos as they scattered in all directions. The shamans also looked at this scene in shock. No one attacked, so how did these demonic beasts fall? Only the elder's eyes were sharp, and he actually saw a sword glowing with a black light amidst the group of demonic beasts. Of course, this was the War Soul sword. The War Soul sword appeared and disappeared unpredictably, and in an instant, it had stabbed 5 demonic beasts to death. The War Soul sword seemed to be controlled by an invisible hand in the sky, as if it was an arm, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. The elder raised his white eyebrows and was overjoyed. He exclaimed, Imperial Sword Technique, Lord Envoy, are you using the Imperial Sword Technique? The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth curled up into a smile. The elder's eyes were indeed fiery. He was actually able to see through some clues. Tang Zheng was already at the first stage of the Foundation Establishment stage, so of course he could use the Imperial Sword Technique. Back then, he had already learned the Imperial Sword Technique from Tian Chanzi, and after his cultivation broke through, he would be able to use it smoothly. In the past few days, he had been silently practicing the Imperial Sword Technique in his free time. Today was his first time practicing it, and the effect was not bad. The power of the Imperial Sword Technique was indeed extraordinary, especially for such a long-range attack. It was even more effective. The demonic beasts obviously did not know that there was someone in this group who knew the Imperial Sword Technique, so they suffered a huge loss. When they scattered in all directions, they saw the war soul soared in the air that was glowing with a black light, and all of them revealed expressions of fear, not daring to attack again. Seeing that, Tang Zheng's heart moved. So, the war soul sword pierced towards another demonic beast. The demonic beast hurriedly dodged, and one of its wings was pierced. It then fled in a sorry state, and the other demonic beasts ran far away. The war soul sword swaggered in the air and gestured a few times at the demonic beasts, as if it could attack at any time, causing them to not dare to act rashly. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. The imperial sword technique consumed a lot of innate qi, so he could not hold on for a long time. This sudden attack caught the other party off guard, causing them to hesitate and not dare to act rashly. Thus, he kept his war soul sword and stood on a raft, looking at the group of demonic beasts from afar. The demonic beasts also looked at him, roaring in anger, but there was nothing they could do. "Speed up," Tang Zheng urged. Immediately, the speed of the wooden raft was raised to its limit, and it shot forward like an arrow. When the demonic beasts on the shore saw that their companions had failed, they all roared in anger and then rushed along the shore. The swamp was very big. When the Witch Clan people reached the center of the swamp, they could no longer see the shore. However, everyone knew that the demonic beasts had already surrounded them from the shore. They had to get to the shore before the demonic beasts reached their destination. After everyone worked together, the wooden raft finally reached the shore. Rumbling sounds could be heard as well. It was obvious that there was still a distance between them, but the pressure made people's hearts feel like they were about to break. "Charge!" Tang Zheng shouted loudly. Everyone got on their horses and rushed towards the tribe. "Elder, you stay in front. I'll stay behind." Sure, you follow the elder," Tang Zheng ordered. "I'll stay and help you," Fang Sure said. "No, let's go quickly. Elder, you must take good care of her." Tang Zheng immediately rejected it. Fang Sure had suffered a loss at the hands of the python flood dragon, which made him feel very guilty. This time, no matter what, he could not let her take the risk. Moreover, the snake poison in her body had not been removed, so it was even more unsuitable for her to accept the challenge. The elder did not waste his breath and said, "Miss Fang, let's go." He brought her to the front of the group and galloped towards the tribe. "Lord Envoy, I'll stay behind to help you," Yi Yuan volunteered. His injuries had already healed. Looking at the determination in Yi Yuan's eyes, Tang Zheng did not refuse and nodded. "Be careful later." The two of them followed at the back of the group and galloped. Actually, with the speed of the heavenly horse, it could definitely surpass anyone, but he would not do so. Since these people treated him as their backbone, then he had to be worthy of this trust. The tribe's tall stone statue was already in sight, and the demonic beasts were also chasing after them. Many trees were broken by them, and they rushed to the back of the group without any fear, rushing in front of Tang Zheng and Yi Yuan. Chapter 236. The demonic beasts roared with killing intent, but there was no fear in their hearts, only a raging, fighting spirit. So, the two of them jumped up from their horses and pounced towards the demonic beasts. Tang Zheng aimed at a bear demon that was about 5 meters tall, like a small mountain. Shua! The war soul sword flashed with a black light, and with a poochie sound, it pierced through the bear demon's heart. It looked at the black sword in its chest in disbelief, and fell to the ground with a loud bang. This time, Tang Zheng had used all his strength. There were no fancy moves at all. All of them were exquisite sword techniques from the Fly Immortals from Heaven Beyond sword technique. The killing power was very strong. The war soul sword was pulled out, blood splattering everywhere, and a wolf demon at the side also pounced forward, its long fangs shining with a cold light. With the example of the bear demon, the wolf demon was obviously more cautious. Seeing the war soul sword slashing towards it, it actually lowered its body and dodged the attack, while a black shadow flew up from his back, pouncing towards Tang Zheng's neck. This unforeseen event happened very quickly. Tang Zheng did not expect that the other party would still have a killing move on his back. A fishy smell assailed his nostrils. Tang Zheng could clearly see that the one pouncing towards him was not a weapon, but another demonic beast. Compared to the other demonic beasts, this demonic beast was like a small dot, only half a meter long. Just now, it was lying on the back of the wolf demon that was over 4 meters long, so it was not noticed by Tang Zheng. The War Soul Sword was already too late to defend, and Tang Zheng's other fist met the bloody mouth with a so sound. Crack! The bloody mouth actually directly bit on a Tang Zheng. The huge bite force exerted on Tang Zheng's wrist, but his wrist was not broken, only a mark was left behind. The Copper Skin realm of the first level of the Chaotic Vajra spell was indeed not an empty name. It directly used its body to withstand the opponent's sharp teeth. Tang Zheng's heart moved as he guessed the origin of this demonic beast. He shouted, "So this is a wolf demon." The wolf demon's body was small, so it was not easy for the enemy to detect it when it was lying on the huge wolf demon. Especially when it attacked so quickly and suddenly, it was impossible for the enemy to guard against it. In the past, they had used this trick to kill many powerful enemies. Tang Zheng was not prepared for this, but his physical body was the best defense, and it directly saved his life. Seeing that he couldn't bite Tang Zheng's arm, the wolf demon's eyes revealed a look of panic and immediately fled back. "You want to leave? Leave your life behind." Tang Zheng roared. The War Soul Sword had already returned to its defensive position. A black light flashed, and with a cautious sound, Bei Yao's head was chopped off. The wolf demon let out a heart-wrenching roar and crazily pounced towards Tang Zheng. With a raise of the sword in his hand, another bloody head was chopped off. The fresh blood did not cause the demonic beasts to retreat. Instead, it aroused their ferocity, causing even more demonic beasts to attack like a tide. Yi Yuan's body was very nimble, and he had boundless strength. He had an additional weapon in his hand, a long spear. The spear tip that flickered with a cold light was filled with killing intent and was extremely agile. With a PU sound, it pierced into the body of a demonic beast and quickly pulled it out. With a sweep of the spear shaft, it struck another demonic beast and caused the demonic beast to stagger to the side. But immediately, other demonic beasts rushed over to attack, causing Yi Yuan to be exhausted. The two of them blocked the attacks of all the demonic beasts. They had the aura of a man holding the pass and 10,000 men. However, in the end, it was difficult for two fists to fight against 4 hands. The demonic beasts continued to increase, causing their attacks to slow down. Yi Yuan's body was already covered in blood, and his clothes were dyed red with blood. There was both the blood of the demonic beasts and his own blood mixed together, causing the valiant aura on his body to become even stronger. Roar! Suddenly, a thunderous roar sounded out, and then the earth seemed to tremble. Tang Zheng and Yi Yuan only felt their vision go black, and a huge monster rushed over. Yi Yuan was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. He only saw a claw grabbing towards him. With a shake of his wrist, the spear flower covered him from all directions. Kacha! However, with a muffled sound, the spear flower shattered, and the claw directly grabbed onto the spearhead. With a series of cracking sounds, the spearhead turned into a piece of scrap metal, and the sharp claw swept across. Bang! Yi Yuan was like a kite with a broken string and was immediately sent flying. Tang Zheng turned pale with fright and shouted, "You are not allowed to hurt him." With a sweep of the War Soul Sword, it forced the demonic beasts in front of it to retreat. It pounced over like lightning and stopped the giant. He finally saw the appearance of this giant monster. It was a monster beast that was very similar to a cow. It was 10 meters tall and stood on its 2 hind legs. Its 2 front legs had sharp claws, and a pair of big round eyes glowed with a green light. The 2 horns on its head were like 2 sharp blades, shining with a cold light. What the hell is this? Could it be an ox demon? Tang Zheng was suspicious. Yi Yuan crawled up from the ground in a sorry state. Staring at the demonic beast with his eyes wide open, he shouted in shock, "Lord Envoy, this is a Kuei cow, a very powerful demonic beast. Don't worry about me. Hurry up and leave, I'll cover the rear." As he spoke, he was about to rush towards the Kuei cow. Tang Zheng stopped him and casually threw him onto the heaven horse and shouted, "Heaven horse, quickly bring him away from here, I'll cover the rear." Just now, he had agreed to leave Yuan behind because he hoped that there would be one more person so that he could completely stop the horde of demonic beasts and give the other clansmen time to escape back to the tribe. Now that the people of the witch clan had definitely escaped back to the tribe, the mission of covering the rear was completed, and it was useless for Yi Yuan to stay. Yi Yuan was brave and good at fighting, so of course Tang Zheng would not just watch him die. He would not be able to help much even if he stayed, so he might as well let him leave quickly so that he could act according to the situation. The heaven horse glanced at its master, and with its 4 hooves flying, it carried Yi Yuan and rushed towards the tribe. Yi Yuan shouted, "Lord Envoy, I want to fight side by side with you. This is an order, let's go." Tang Zheng was afraid that he would be stubborn and run back, so he directly said that it was an order. Tang Zheng already had absolute prestige in the witch clan, so Yi Yuan did not dare to disobey. He could only clench his teeth, turn his head to look at the huge group of demonic beasts, and leave with tears in his eyes. Tang Zheng looked at the Kuei cow attentively, and the Kuei cow also looked at him. Their eyes met, and the 2 pairs of eyes, one big and one small, did not retreat in the slightest. The Kuei cow obviously knew that Tang Zheng was not a good person, so it did not rashly attack. It opened its mouth and actually spoke in human language. "Give us the things in the cave, and we'll let you live." Tang Zheng was shocked. This Kuei cow was obviously stronger than the other demonic beasts. It could actually speak human language, but when he thought about how the ginseng at home could also speak, he was not that surprised. However, he finally understood that the other party was indeed here for the little guy. What was so special about that little guy that could actually cause these demonic beasts to mobilize so many people? Please recommend. Chapter 237. Seeing the black mass of bird demons swooping down, Tang Zheng, who was in midair, had nowhere to borrow strength. The war soul sword quickly slashed downwards, borrowing the rebound force to soar into the air, barely dodging the bird demon's attack. At this moment, he was already over 100 meters in the air, even higher than the bird demons. The bird demons immediately turned around and soared into the sky, attacking him. Tang Zheng, however, allowed his body to fall rapidly, pouncing towards a bird demon that was rushing towards him. The bird demon's sharp beak immediately pecked at him, causing a strong wind to blow, but Tang Zheng was not hit. Instead, he waved the war soul sword, stirring up the air, and then, borrowing this force, he dangerously landed on the back of the bird demon. Tang Zheng grabbed onto its feathers tightly. The bird demon cried out angrily and kept rolling in the air, determined to throw Tang Zheng off. How could Tang Zheng let go so easily? Falling from a height of 100 meters, even if he did not die from the fall, it would still be difficult. Moreover, there was still a group of demonic beasts eyeing him covetously. The demonic beasts on the ground all raised their heads to look at the sky, their sharp claws and teeth aimed at the sky. As long as Tang Zheng fell, he would definitely be pierced by 10,000 blades. The bird demon had already risen hundreds of meters into the air, and Tang Zheng could only hear the whistling of the wind around him. Fortunately, he was bold and careful, and still did not let go, causing the bird demon to be unable to do anything to him. After all, Tang Zheng's position was too special, causing the bird demon to have no way to attack him. Seeing that Tang Zheng was so cunning, the other bird demons all rushed forward to help. But with a thought from Tang Zheng, the War Soul Sword, under the control of the Imperial Sword Technique, pierced into the body of a bird demon that was rushing forward, and then this huge monster fell down. The other bird demons screamed in fear and retreated. Tang Zheng looked at the tribe from afar. There were already many demonic beasts rushing towards the tribe. Tang Zheng was extremely anxious. Just at this time, the bird demon seemed to know that it couldn't get rid of Tang Zheng in the air, so it simply swooped down, wanting to land on the ground, and let Tang Zheng fall into the encirclement of the demonic beasts. Tang Zheng immediately saw through its thoughts. Seeing that they had already descended to a height of 100 meters, he directly hugged the bird demon's neck with both hands and pulled it up with all his strength. The bird demon let out a painful cry and helplessly rose into the air again. It flapped its wings and flew forward in the direction of the tribe. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. Since the land was full of demonic beasts, it would be faster to fly back to the tribe. He placed the war soul sword on the bird demon's neck and said sternly, "Hurry up and fly forward, or else I'll kill you with one strike." The bird demon had already developed intelligence, so of course it didn't want to die. It wanted to shake off Tang Zheng, but it couldn't. In order to save its life, it could only be threatened by him. The speed of the man and the demon was very fast. They streaked across the sky like lightning and flew towards the tribe. The Kuei cow raised its head and looked at everything in the sky. Suddenly, the green light in its eyes exploded as it roared. "They're running away. Chase after them." Rumble. All the demonic beasts rushed towards the tribe. Tang Zheng's speed was even faster, even surpassing the group of demonic beasts that were rushing towards the tribe at the beginning. Seeing that they had already reached the entrance of the tribe, Tang Zheng had the bird demon lower its height. When it was still more than 10 meters away, he jumped down from its back. The bird demon once again rose into the air in panic. It looked at Tang Zheng from afar and did not dare to approach. Obviously, it had suffered a lot at his hands. When the people on the battlements saw Tang Zheng land at the entrance, they all cheered and immediately opened the door to welcome Tang Zheng in. At this moment, the vanguard of the demonic beasts had also rushed to the main entrance, but they were blocked by the tall door. These two doors are made of huge stones, and they were a whole, weighing tens of thousands of kilograms. Even if the witch clan was born with divine strength, it would have taken them a lot of effort to install these two stone doors back then. This stone door was like a natural barrier, blocking all the demonic beasts outside. It was difficult for them to advance any further, and they could only roar at the people on the battlements. Tang Zheng also stood on the battlements, meeting up with the elders, Fang Shi and the others. Fang Shi cheered and jumped into his embrace. The soul-stirring battle just now had resounded through the clouds. Although she had not seen it with her own eyes, she could imagine how dangerous it was. Seeing him return safe and sound, she really felt as if she had been separated from him for a lifetime. Tang Zheng patted her back and comforted her. Fang Shi also gradually calmed down and stood quietly at the side. The elder's face was ashen as he looked at the demonic beasts in front of the stone door and said worriedly, "Lord Envoy, I'm afraid that this stone door and the surrounding walls will not be able to block their attacks." Tang Zheng nodded. Even if he could block it for a while, he could not block it for a lifetime. "Lord Envoy, now that the restriction has been broken, you can lead the majority of our clansmen and leave first. I will stay behind to resist." The elder volunteered. Tang Zheng's expression turned cold, and he refused without hesitation. "No, I want to stay as well. These demonic beasts are here for the little fellow. I have to figure out what's going on." Speaking of the little fellow, a white figure jumped out from somewhere and jumped onto Tang Zheng's shoulder. Just now, before the battle, Tang Zheng had given it to the elders to take away. This was because he suspected that the demonic beasts were here for it from the very beginning. If he had lost the battle just now, he wouldn't have let it fall into the hands of the demonic beasts. Now that he was sure that the demonic beasts were here for him, he couldn't help but size it up even more carefully. It really looked no different from a puppy, except for its fiery red eyes. The little guy stood on his shoulder, its two front paws hugging his head, and intimately rubbed his head with its head. Its small eyes were filled with resentment, as if it was blaming him for leaving it just now. The elder also looked at the little guy curiously. Although he was knowledgeable, he could not recognize its origins. "Lord Envoy, the demonic beasts are coming aggressively. We must not let them obtain the Saint Beast. Since the Lord Envoy is not leaving, then even if our witch clan fights to the last person and bleeds to the last drop of blood, we will definitely not compromise." The elder vowed, "We will not compromise. We will not compromise." The other clansmen all shouted loudly. Regardless of whether they were men women, old, or young, they all had determined expressions on their faces. Tang Zheng was excited and said loudly, "We will definitely get through this difficult situation. Everyone must have confidence." Yes, get through this difficult situation. Get through this difficult situation. Morale was high, and an army of demonic beasts was welcomed outside the door. At the beginning, there were only a dozen or so demonic beasts surrounding the swamp, but now there were 40 to 50 of them, and the Kuei cow was obviously the leader. The Kuei cow walked forward with its head held high, its gaze locked onto the little fellow on Tang Zheng's shoulder from afar. Its expression became excited, and said loudly, "Hand it over, and we will retreat and let you live. Don't even think about it." Tang Zheng rejected loudly. "Attack!" The Kuei cow did not waste any time. It waved its claws forward, and the army of demonic beasts rushed towards the tribe. The outermost perimeter of the tribe was a fence, and inside the fence was a tall city wall made of boulders. It was dozens of meters tall, and normal beasts would not be able to cross it. Please recommend. Chapter 238. The Witch Clan members all rushed down from the battlements and attacked the demonic beasts. In terms of individual strength, the demonic beasts were naturally stronger than any of the Witch Clan members. As a result, the few people at the front were sent flying, blood splattering all over the ground. When the others saw this, their eyes turned red and they roared, wanting to take revenge for their clansmen. More than 100 people immediately stopped the demonic beasts. However, it was impossible for all the people on the battlements to withdraw. They had to guard against the attacks of the demonic beasts outside. Tang Zheng rushed to the plaza and instantly rushed in front of the Kuei cow. Seeing that the Kuei cow's claws were about to smash a person's head, Tang Zheng anxiously grabbed the person and pulled him back, allowing him to escape from danger. Then he raised the War Soul Sword and slapped the War Soul Sword with his claws, causing sparks to fly in all directions. A huge force was transmitted to Tang Zheng's arm, causing endless pain. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth could not help but twitch. The Kuei cow's eyes revealed a complacent and sinister smile, its other claw directly grabbing towards the little fellow on Tang Zheng's shoulder. Tang Zheng wanted to retreat, but he realized that he could not, because the Kuei cow's claws were already in front of the little guy and were about to grab it. The little guy was furious. It stared with its fiery red eyes and stood up straight. Its two front paws were placed on its waist, and its mouth was emitting a squeaking sound. Suddenly, it opened its mouth and spat out a flame. The Kuei cow was caught off guard, and its claws were immediately ignited. Then, it let out a heart-wrenching scream and quickly retreated. Then it quickly extinguished the fire and looked at the little guy in fear. Its claws had already turned black and were emitting black smoke, just like a roasted beef leg. The little guy squeaked twice, looking very pleased with himself, and even looked at the Kuei cow with disdain. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. This little guy was powerful. He had burned the eagle demon in the sacred grounds, and now he had roasted the Kuei cow. Since he had the little guy's help, Tang Zheng's aura suddenly changed. Shwa shwa shwa. The War Soul Sword danced and attacked the Kuei cow. The Kuei cow seemed to be rather fearful of the little fellow and actually retreated while fighting. Fang Shishir also joined the battle. This was her second time participating in a battle. The first time was when she was poisoned by the python dragon snake venom. Now that her cultivation had greatly increased, her combat effectiveness had obviously increased. With a flash of her sword, a cold gleam of light pierced towards the chest of a demonic beast. This sword was just an ordinary treasure sword. With a flash of fire, the treasure sword was actually unable to harm the demonic beast at all, and the demonic beast attack had already arrived in front of her. Fang Shishir shouted and quickly retreated, dodging the attack. At this time, Yi Yuan rushed forward, a new spear in his hand, and with a so sound, he pierced towards the demonic beast's head. The demonic beast slapped away the spear, but Fang Shishir saw the opportunity and thrusted his sword forward, piercing into the demonic beast's chest, and then pulled it back, causing blood to immediately spurt out. A trace of fear flashed across Fang Shishi's eyes. This was the first time she had killed an enemy. In the past, she was just a good student and had never even killed a chicken or a fish. Today, she was infected by everyone's emotions, so she volunteered to charge into the fray. She never thought that she would see blood so quickly. Looking at the fear and despair in the demonic beast's eyes, the impact on her mind could be imagined. She was actually a little dazed. Yi Yuan discovered her absent-minded state and immediately stood in front of her to protect her. She was Lord Envoy's woman, so she definitely could not afford to lose. The demonic beast struggled on the verge of death. The sharp horn on its head collided with Yi Yuan's spear and was firmly blocked. Then it fell to the ground with a loud bang, twitching a few times before dying completely. Miss Fang, this is a battlefield. If it doesn't die, then we die. Don't let your guard down. Yi Yuan warned. Yi Yuan had been in the forest all year round, so he already had a valiant aura. His words were very shocking. As if waking up from a dream, Fang Shishi looked at the corpses of the demonic beasts on the ground, then looked at the other people who were fighting to the death with the demonic beasts. He nodded his head heavily and silently warned himself, "This is a battlefield. These are all enemies. I cannot be soft-hearted." Her eyes gradually became resolute. Her sword techniques became even sharper, and she cooperated with the other witch clan members to fight against the demonic beasts. Suddenly, a few more black shadows appeared in the sky. It was the few bird demons that had returned, and there was a demonic beast sitting on their backs. Without a doubt, these bird demons were doing the same thing, using themselves as transport machines, wanting to transport more and more demonic beasts in. Tang Zheng stared fiercely at these demonic beasts. If he did not exterminate these winged fellows, then there would be endless trouble in the future. Even if he killed these few demonic beasts, the other demonic beasts would still be able to break through his defense. "Little guy, spit fire and turn them into roasted chickens," Tang Zheng said fiercely. The little guy was incomparably excited. He opened his mouth and spat out a flame. The flames soared into the sky and directly wrapped around a bird demon. Even the demonic beast on its back was ignited, turning into two huge fireballs. They screamed miserably and fell to the ground, rolling nonstop. After a while, they turned into two balls of black charcoal. Seeing that, the other bird demons all rose into the air, and the demonic beasts on their backs also jumped down. "Damn it! He actually ran away when he saw that the situation was bad," Tang Zheng said in disbelief. Due to the addition of new demonic beasts, the fighting strength of the demonic beasts had obviously increased. Furthermore, the demonic beasts outside the city had launched another attack, pinning down the witch clan members on the battlements, causing them to be unable to send out more people to support them. The number of witch clan members far exceeded the number of demonic beasts, but the fighting strength of the demonic beasts was too strong. Not long later, a few more black dots appeared in the sky. Without a doubt, it was the group of bird demons again. This time, they became smarter and did not lower their altitude. Instead, they hovered more than 10 meters above the ground. Even if the little guy wanted to spit fire, it would be useless. So. A few more demonic beasts jumped down from their backs, and the demonic beast battle prowess instantly increased. The situation of the shaman tribe became more and more disadvantageous. More and more people fell, and blood dyed the square red. Along the mysterious patterns on the square, the blood gathered bit by bit and flowed towards the four gigantic stone statues. Tang Zheng's eyes were about to turn red. He was the so-called Lord Envoy, but he still did not protect the witch clan properly and allowed them to fall into a pool of blood. Looking at the fearless witch clan members, his heart was bleeding as he glared fiercely at the Kuei cow in front of him. The Kuei cow was afraid of the little guy's flames, so it started to circle around with Tang Zheng. It kept Tang Zheng's fighting strength at bay, so he did not have the energy to support the others. However, the Kuei cow's fighting strength was beyond Tang Zheng's imagination. It was obvious that the Kuei cow's strength was stronger than his, and the Kuei cow did not face the enemy head-on. It was only holding him back, making him watch as the witch clan members fell. Please recommend. Chapter 239. A large hand of the stone statue grabbed onto a 5-meter-tall demonic beast. With a boom, the demonic beast exploded into a cloud of blood mist, without any chance to resist. Seeing this, the witch clansmen all cheered. The guardian god was indeed extraordinary. His first move was earth-shattering. The demonic beasts roared in anger, and a few of them directly rushed towards the stone statue. Bang, 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 with a wave of the stone statue's hand, several demonic beasts were hit and flew far away, falling to the ground and shattering into pieces. The power of the guardian god was not something they could contend against. The Kawaii cow's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. These stone statues were actually so powerful, he felt a tremble from the bottom of his heart. The Kawaii cow turned around and rushed out of the city. Tang Zheng saw the opportunity and immediately chased after it, standing on its back with a sword, revealing its white bones. However, the Kawaii cow only staggered and did not stop at all. Instead, its speed reached its limit and it passed through the stone statue's legs. It only had time to turn its head to take a look, and discovered that the stone statue that had already walked to the center of the plaza had unleashed its divine might, sweeping through a few demonic beasts and killing them one after another. The morale of the witch clansmen was high, and they all stopped the other demonic beasts that had regained their senses and were ready to escape. In an instant, the demonic beasts died one after another. The Kawaii cow raised its head and looked at the two stone statues guarding the battlements. If it escaped, it would be sending itself to its death. Thus, it cast its gaze to the sky and roared. A few black shadows pounced down quickly. The violent air currents formed a tornado that swept through the plaza. The stone statue did not even look at it. It punched the tornado, and, with a boom, the tornado collapsed. The bird demon had already landed on the plaza. So. The Kawaii cow and a few other demonic beasts rushed onto the back of the bird demon. The bird demon soared into the air, wanting to escape. Seeing this, the stone statue attacked one after another. A few demonic beasts were immediately swept down by the huge palm and fell into the plaza. They were immediately surrounded by the witch clansmen and were killed in an instant. The Kawaii cow's carriage rose into the sky and escaped the calamity. Seeing this, Tang Zheng immediately picked up a long spear from the ground and threw it with force. So, the long spear broke through the air. The movements of the bird demon in the air clearly paused for a moment. Then it flapped its wings and flew unsteadily towards the west. "It's too easy for it to escape just like that," Tang Zheng said unwillingly. When the other demonic beasts saw that their leader had escaped, they became even more panicked. They did not dare to resist at all, and all fled. However, it was easy to come, but how could they escape? Under the siege of the stone statue and the sorcerer tribe, all the demonic beasts that rushed and were annihilated. Only a few demonic beasts outside the city saw that the situation was not good and turned around to escape. The demonic beasts were finally completely repelled. Everyone could not believe this result. Originally, the witch clan was facing a calamity of extermination, but they did not expect to turn the tables so quickly. Everyone looked at the stone statues at the same time. They were their protectors. It was all because of their participation that the battle had undergone such a drastic change. The guardian god retreated to the surroundings of the plaza and returned to his original position. He did not move at all, as if he had never moved before. The elder had already walked to Tang Zheng's side and raised his head to look at the stone statue. After a long while, he sighed faintly. The guardian god is actually real. Tang Zheng was also deeply moved. When he first came to the witch clan, he was shocked by these four colossi. Just now, when he saw their strength, his heart trembled even more. Just how powerful were they to be able to destroy all the demonic beasts without any effort? Lord Envoy, did you notice how they were activated just now? The elder came back to his senses and asked seriously. This question concerned the survival of the witch clan. Tang Zheng looked in the direction of the stone statue, and his gaze involuntarily landed on the mysterious lines. The middle of the lines was actually extremely clean, without a single drop of blood. This was too abnormal. The ground of the plaza was almost completely covered in blood, and only the mysterious lines did not have any blood. The end of the lines was the bottom of the stone statue's feet. He immediately remembered that during the fierce battle, there seemed to be a bloody light flickering on the stone statue. Could it be that the bloody light was transmitted by these mysterious lines? That must be it. Tang Zheng told his judgment to the elder. The elder's eyes lit up, and he said, "Only the blood of the witch clan can awaken the guardian god. I know, the ancestor of the witch clan once said that the guardian god was protecting the witch clan from being destroyed. Just now, the witch clan was almost destroyed, and a large amount of witch clan's blood was poured into the guardian god's body, waking them up to protect the witch clan." Tang Zheng suddenly realized, so that was how it was. And what kind of background did the witch clan have in the past to be able to have 4 guardian gods protecting them? Where did these 4 guardian gods come from? And why did they protect the witch clan? There were too many questions that could not be answered one by one. Tang Zheng's gaze towards the guardian god became deeper and deeper, as if he wanted to pierce through the long river of history and trace back to the origin of the guardian god, to find out what kind of god they were. "Elder, let's clean up the battlefield first and treat the injured." Tang Zheng calmed himself down and said. Thus, everyone started to move and clean up the battlefield. The sorcerer tribesmen had suffered great losses in this battle. More than 100 of them were injured, and more than 20 of them had died. This was definitely not a small loss for the sorcerer tribesmen, who only had about 500 people. Everyone's expressions gradually calmed down and became incomparably serious. Seeing the clan members who had been together with each other day and night being injured or turned into cold corpses, everyone's mood was a little low, but they were even more angry. They were filled with undisguised anger towards this group of demonic beasts that had suddenly attacked. The corpses of the demonic beasts were also collected. In the past, they had encountered demonic beasts and even hunted some small demonic beasts. However, it was obvious that there were not so many powerful demonic beasts. Looking at the mountain of demonic beast corpses, the hunters of the witch clan gradually became excited. These prey could only be found by chance, because their bodies were treasures everywhere. For a long time in the future, these demonic beasts will be able to provide for their daily needs. Furthermore, that was not all. Now that the restrictions had been broken, the witch clan could cultivate. The meat and cores of these demonic beasts could help the witch clan quickly increase their strength. Please recommend. Chapter 240. Seeing that, the elder scolded, "What are you doing in such a hurry?" Yi Yuan took a deep breath and said impatiently, "Lord Envoy, Miss Fong has fainted due to the poison. Please add." Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. His figure flashed and rushed out of the room, only to see Fong Sure lying on a chair, surrounded by people, his face full of anxiety. Tang Zheng immediately saw that the green color in the middle of Fong Shure's forehead had already spread outwards, gradually occupying half of her face. Her eyes were tightly shut, as if she was in great pain. He hurriedly hugged her and called out, "Sure, no reaction." The elder also followed over, and when he saw Fong Shure's condition, he turned pale with fright. "Lord Envoy, it must have been the fierce battle just now that caused the poison to flare up." As he said that, he took out a pill and handed it over to Tang Zheng. This pill can temporarily alleviate the poison. Tang Zheng immediately let Fong Shure take the pill, and the green color slowly gathered on his forehead again. Fong Shure woke up and asked blankly, "What happened to me?" Tang Zheng revealed a pained expression. He never thought that the poison of the python dragon would be so strong and so difficult to completely neutralize. Looking at Tang Zheng's expression, Fong Shure instantly understood what was going on and asked, "Am I poisoned?" 29 Tang Zheng nodded. Fong Shure laughed bitterly. "Don't worry, isn't there still an elder? He will cure me." Supporting Fong Shure to her feet, her face blossomed with a smile again, but Tang Zheng stared fixedly at the green color and said, Sure, you just went through a great battle. Go back to your room and rest first." "All right, Don't tire yourself out. Fang Shishir obediently returned to her room, while Tang Zheng looked at the elder seriously and asked, Elder, is there any way to completely cure Shishir's poison? The elder said in annoyance, Lord Envoy, this old man is ashamed. During this period of time, I've already tried many methods, but in the end, I am still unable to cure it. Tang Zheng's head thumped. Fang Shishir was his woman. How could he watch her suffer? So he asked, Is there really no other way? The elder racked his brains, and after a long time, his eyes lit up. He said, I've got it. The heaven origin fruit is a legendary antidote. It is the nemesis of all poisons in the world. Where is the heaven yuan fruit? Tang Zheng quickly asked. Hesitation appeared on the elder's face. Elder, this is a matter of life and death. Why are you still hesitating? The elder sighed and said, The heaven origin fruit is in the 100,000 mountains. The heaven origin fruit likes yin and can only survive in places with the densest yin qi of heaven and earth. Hearing that the heaven origin fruit was in the 100,000 mountains, Tang Zheng could not help but heave a sigh of relief. He was overjoyed and said, Since it's in 100,000 mountains, then I'll go and find it as soon as possible. Lord Envoy, there is only one place in this 100,000 mountains with the densest yin qi, and that is the Forbidden Area. This was the reason why he was hesitating earlier. The Forbidden Area was an extremely dangerous place, and from today's demonic beasts, it could be seen that going to the Forbidden Area was a place with a 90% chance of survival. Tang Zheng was slightly startled. Forbidden Area? His expression changed for a moment before he resolutely said, Even if I have to go through a mountain of blades and a sea of flames, I will still find the heaven origin fruit. Shishir must not be harmed. I must cure her poison. Lord Envoy, why don't we think of something else? Maybe it will work. The elder advised. However, Tang Zheng directly shook his head. No, I will go to the Forbidden Area. Firstly, I will find the heaven origin fruit, and secondly, I will find out what relationship this little guy has with the Forbidden Area. Why do those demonic beasts want to snatch it back with no regard for their lives? When he mentioned the holy beast, the elder's expression became serious. He bravely said, I will go with you. We must find out the relationship between the demonic beasts and the Forbidden Area. We cannot let the demonic beasts have any ideas about the holy beast. Tang Zheng immediately rejected. You have to stay here. This place needs you more. Moreover, this trip to the Forbidden Area is too dangerous. The more people there are, the easier it is to lose. So all of you stay here and start cultivating. Increasing your strength is the most important thing. Then who will protect your safety? Lord Envoy. Tang Zheng said confidently. I will protect myself. Don't worry. After so many years of changes, maybe the Forbidden Area is not as dangerous as the legends say. The elders said shamefully, Lord Envoy, not only did we not help you, we have become a burden to you. We're truly ashamed. Tang Zheng did not mind and laughed. There's no need to be so polite with me. Let's deal with the matter in front of us first. With that, he returned to his room to accompany Fang Shishir. Seeing him come in, Fang Shishir sat up from the bed, unable to hide the fatigue between her brows. Tang Zheng held her hand and said emotionally, Today was too dangerous. It's been hard on you. Fang Shishir smiled, leaned on his shoulder and said, It's not hard. It's just that this is the first time I've experienced such a battle. It's too tense and exciting. In the future, you will have to experience all of this. Although it seems a little cruel, our world is destined to not be peaceful. If we make a mistake, we will not deal with others, but others will come and find trouble with us. So don't take it to heart. You will slowly get used to it. Tang Zheng comforted her. I know. Fang Shishir nodded heavily. Sure. I will be going to the Forbidden Area next. Fang Shishir's body tensed up. She stared straight at him and asked, Go to the Forbidden Area? Why? You have been poisoned by the Flood Dragon. The elders and I have no way to cure it. We can only go to the Forbidden Area to find the Heaven Yuan fruit. Only then can we cure your poison. No, the Forbidden Area is filled with demonic beasts. Wouldn't it be too dangerous for you to go? I won't let you go. Even if I die, I won't let you take the risk. Fang Shi grabbed his arm, as if she was afraid that he would immediately run away. Tang Zheng patted the back of her hand and comforted, "It won't be as dangerous as you think. It's just me. Even if I can't beat them, I can still escape. I can shrink the ground into inches. My ability to escape is not bad." I said no means no. I can't be so selfish and let you take the risk for me, Fang Shi stubbornly said. Tang Zheng's head went soft. He suddenly pulled her into his embrace and said in a low voice, "For you, what is this little bit of danger? Even if I have to climb a mountain of swords or dive into a sea of fire, I will still go." Sure, you are my woman. This is what I should do." Fang Shi's eyes turned red, tears almost flowing out of her eyes. "But I'm scared. You saw how strong those demonic beasts were. There might be even more dangerous things in the forbidden area. I promise you, I will definitely come back safely. You can trust me, okay?" Their eyes met. Tang Zheng asked. Fang Shi looked at the determination in his eyes. She did not speak for a long time. Her heart almost melted. "Promise me, you will definitely come back. I want to be your woman for the rest of my life," Fang Shi said emotionally. Tang Zheng grinned. "Of course, sure. You will always be my woman. You can't escape even if you want to." Fang Shi shyly smiled. "I don't want to escape. It's best if you don't escape. I will hold on to you tightly anyway." After pausing for a moment, Tang Zheng said again, "Actually, this time I'm not only going to the forbidden area for you, but also for that little guy. It is the holy beast of the witch clan, and it even made the demonic beasts in the forbidden area so excited. It must be extraordinary. I also want to find out the reason." "Yeah, that little guy is too cute." Fang Shi thought of the cute little guy, her heart overflowing with love, and said from the bottom of her heart. As soon as he finished speaking, a snow-white figure came in from the window. It seemed to have heard Tang Zheng talking about it, so it swaggered over to Tang Zheng and rubbed against his feet a few times, very intimately. Fang Shi immediately hugged it in her arms, gently stroking its fur. The little guy let out a squeaking sound, as if it was very happy. "What's its name?" Fang Shi asked curiously. "I don't know. Why don't you give it a name?" Fang Shi suggested. Tang Zheng looked at the little guy with interest, looking at its snow-white fur. His heart moved, and said, "Why don't we call it Xiaobai?" "Xiaobai?" Fang Shi furrowed her brows. "Isn't it too ordinary? It doesn't match its mystical nature at all." The little guy seemed to have heard the conversation between the two, and nodded seriously. It also felt that this name was too ordinary, not worthy of it. Looking at its charmingly naive appearance, Tang Zheng became more determined and said, "Let's call it Xiaobai. It's easy to remember." Squeak, squeak. The little guy raised its two claws and loudly protested, as if it didn't like the name. Fang Shi couldn't help but laugh. "See, even it is protesting." Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and said, "The protest is invalid." The little guy's two ears immediately drooped down like a defeated soldier. It looked at Tang Zheng resentfully, then lay in Fang Shi's arms. Seeing this, Tang Zheng couldn't help but laugh. He carried it over and said, "Xiaobai, you're still complaining. Look at how much trouble you've caused this time, and how much damage you've caused. I still have to go to the forbidden area for you. You should thank me." Xiaobai rubbed its head against Tang Zheng's face a few times, then quickly climbed onto his shoulder, squeaking twice, as if its spirit had improved a lot. The next day, all the members of the witch tribe formed a mighty team. More than 20 of their clansmen were lying in the coffins, and they came to a mountain not far from the tribe. There were many tombstones on the mountain, and they completely occupied the small mountain. Today, more than 20 new tombs would be added to the place where the witch tribe members of this generation were buried. Everyone's expression was very serious, and they were in low spirits. The simple and grand funeral was presided over by the elders, and no one cried as they watched the coffins of their clansmen being buried. Although everyone's eyes were red, they suppressed their cries. The witch tribe members were born warriors. They died on the battlefield and faced death with equanimity. This was their best home. Moreover, They were fighting to protect their clansmen, and the others would always remember their contributions. It started to drizzle, as if the heavens were sad for these warriors. Under the drizzle, everyone returned to the tribe without saying a word. Tang Zheng was about to embark on a new journey. Chapter 241. Tang Zheng led the heaven horse and stood in front of a huge stone door. Book Group A light rain fell from the sky, but everyone was standing in front of the stone door. A solemn atmosphere spontaneously arose, and all of their gazes were focused on Tang Zheng. Lord Envoy, I'll go with you. Yi Yuan volunteered. After experiencing these few battles, he already had a sincere admiration for Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng shook his head. After I leave, you have to protect the safety of your clansmen even more. Elder, recently, everyone should not leave the tribe too far to prevent the demonic beast from attacking. The elder nodded and said, Yes, Lord Envoy. You have to be careful this time. Fang Shishir agreed with him with red eyes. Tang Zheng, if it's too dangerous, come back. We definitely have other ways. Now that medicine is so advanced, this poison might not be impossible to cure. Tang Zheng smiled, telling her to be at ease, and then mounted the horse. At this time, Xiao Bai jumped onto his shoulder with a whoosh and hugged his head with all his might. Xiao Bai, hurry up and come down. I'm leaving. Be obedient in the tribe and don't run around. Tang Zheng said. Gigi, Xiao Bai called out as he shook his head, refusing to let go. Tang Zheng understood its thoughts and asked, You want to come with me to the forbidden area? Xiao Bai hurriedly nodded. Lord Envoy, you must not. This trip to the forbidden area is too dangerous. If the holy beasts are together, it would be equivalent to a sheep entering a tiger's den. The elder immediately advised. Xiao Bai bared his teeth at the elder and called out, as if he was angry that the elder was actually going against him. Seeing that it was so determined, Tang Zheng's heart moved and said, I am going to investigate Xiao Bai's origins and the final goal of the demonic beasts. If Xiao Bai is with me, there might be an unexpected effect, and it will be more beneficial for the investigation. Xiao Bai was too miraculous. Moreover, with that magical flame, he could protect himself to a certain extent. There was no need to worry too much about him falling into the hands of demonic beasts. The elder was hesitant. Looking at Tang Zheng's resolute expression, he had no choice but to compromise and said, All right, then Lord Emissary and Saint Beast, please take care. We will wait for your triumphant return. Tang Zheng waved his hand and said with a smile, Don't worry, I'll definitely return triumphantly. As he said that, he looked deeply at Fang Shishir. Their eyes met, conveying deep affection. I'm going, Tang Zheng bellowed. The heaven horse's four hooves soared into the air and rushed out like lightning. The trees on both sides immediately retreated, and the whistling sound of the wind swept past his ears. Xiao Bai grabbed Tang Zheng's head and squeaked nonstop, waving his claws. His fiery red eyes were swollen with excitement. Tang Zheng glanced at its naive appearance and couldn't help but laugh out loud, scaring a group of birds. Urging his horse to gallop, he crossed over the mountains and through the swamps. The drizzle had already stopped, and the scorching sun hung high in the sky. However, this mountain was covered in lush vegetation, so only sparse sunlight shone on Tang Zheng's body. It was not that hot. The sun was setting in the west. Tang Zheng found a cave to rest for the night, ate some food, and continued on his way the next day. It would take 6 days to reach the forbidden grounds, but the heaven horse was faster than ordinary horses. Tang Zheng reckoned that 5 days would be enough. For 4 consecutive days, Tang Zheng's formation could be considered peaceful. Although he had encountered a few fierce beasts that did not open their eyes during this period of time, they were not demonic beasts. Tang Zheng hunted one and then ate a delicious barbecue. Xiao Bai also enjoyed the delicacies and ate heartily. In the end, most of the huge wild beast was eaten by Xiao Bai. Tang Zheng was very suspicious of how its little stomach could hold so many things. And what was even stranger was that in the past few days, Its originally round and bulging stomach had become a lot smaller. Even after eating the head of barbecued meat, it had not become round and bulging again. Bang! Suddenly, a muffled sound rang out. In this quiet forest, it was especially ear-piercing, and the heaven horse immediately stopped. Gunshot! Tang Zheng's pupils suddenly shrank. He was very sensitive to gunshots and could immediately tell. But how could there be gunshots in the mountains? There were other people who had entered the 10,000 huge mountains, and this was already considered the depths of the mountains. The other party was already very powerful to be able to reach this place and was not an ordinary person. Tang Zheng remembered that Mu Hongyan had once said that every year there would be an expedition team entering the 10,000 huge mountains to explore, but no one had ever come out. Could it be that this was another expedition team? Tang Zheng only wanted to reach the forbidden grounds as soon as possible and did not want to come into contact with anyone else. Just as he was about to spur his horse to run, he saw a fierce tiger jump out from the grass not far away. Bang! Another gunshot rang out. An array of blood blossomed from the tiger's head. Then it fell limply to the ground and died. So. A few figures quickly rushed over. It was already too late for Tang Zheng to leave, as both sides had already discovered each other. Black muzzles were aimed at Tang Zheng. Not only were there pistols, there were even automatic rifles. Tang Zheng also saw that one of them was carrying a sniper rifle on his back, and another had a grenade hanging from his waist. Tang Zheng's eyelids twitched. This was not an ordinary expedition team. The country had strict gun control, and ordinary pistols were very difficult to obtain. Therefore, a local gangster like Lin Hu only had 1 or 2 pistols, and it took a Herculean effort to get them. But the people in front of him were obviously much more powerful than Lin Hu. This kind of firepower was definitely not ordinary people. Facing the black muzzles, he did not move, and Xiaobai looked at these black muzzles curiously. It did not know what these things were, nor did it know their power. "Who are you?" one of the people on the other side shouted. Tang Zheng's head trembled. This person's voice was strange, but he did not show any fear. He directly asked, "Who are you people? I'll ask you first. You answer me first." The other party moved the muzzle and said arrogantly. Tang Zheng was unmoved. "I'm just passing by." "Passing by? Why are you dressed like this?" The other party obviously did not believe him. He stared at Tang Zheng's clothes and asked curiously. Tang Zheng lowered his head and looked at his clothes. He was wearing the traditional clothes of the witch tribe, which was an ancient costume. Other than his short hair, he was completely different from the people outside the mountains. Since this group of people had extraordinary origins, then he should not reveal his identity first. Looking at the other party's suspicious gaze, he was afraid that they were also guessing his identity. "You live in this mountain?" The other party suddenly asked loudly. Tang Zheng's heart moved. His dressing was indeed too confusing. Since the other party mistook him for a native of this mountain, then he could take advantage of the situation. Thus, Tang Zheng asked righteously, "Could it be that you are from the outside? What are you doing here?" The other party had a look of joy on his face that he had guessed correctly. Then, he looked at Tang Zheng with a fervent gaze, as if he had seen his prey. So. A few more people quickly ran over from behind, and they were even leading horses. The horses were carrying equipment from the wilderness, such as tents and food, as well as gas masks. Tang Zheng suddenly realized no wonder the other party had walked into the depths of the mountain. It turned out that they had gas masks blocking the invisible miasma that could kill people. This group of people is definitely not as simple as exploring. Tang Zheng immediately made a judgment. An ordinary expedition team would not have such excellent equipment, and everyone seemed to be skilled, especially one of the people who walked over. When Tang Zheng saw this, his heart subconsciously tightened. Expert. This person was definitely an expert. Tang Zheng could not tell whether the other party was a martial artist or a cultivator, but he could not see through him at all. In addition, the other people also emitted an extraordinary aura and were not ordinary people. What is the purpose of this group of people coming to the 10,000 mountains? Tang Zheng started to think. Since the witch clan lived in this mountain, then Tang Zheng could not turn a blind eye to this mysterious force. What if they were here for the witch clan? Come down, or we'll shoot. One of them shouted. Tang Zheng pretended to be at a loss as he looked at the muzzle of the gun. Someone suddenly realized and mocked. He's a bumpkin from this mountain. He doesn't even know what a gun is. What's the use of threatening him with a gun? Ha! The others also laughed unscrupulously, looking at Tang Zheng with ridicule and ridicule. Get off the horse, or your head will explode. The other party changed his words. Tang Zheng pretended to panic and shouted, I don't know you. Are you going to kill me? He, a coward. Hurry up and come down. One of them walked towards Tang Zheng with a gun in his hand. Tang Zheng sat on the back of the heaven horse, looking down from above. If he were to counterattack now, he would definitely be able to catch them off guard, but if he wanted to kill everyone, he might not be able to do so. Moreover, whether or not the other party only had 10 people in front of him, and whether or not they had any other accomplices, these were all questions that Tang Zheng had to be concerned about. Therefore, he decided to wait and see. He got off his horse and said in panic, Don't kill me, don't kill me. It's fine if we don't kill you, but obediently answer our questions. Seeing that Tang Zheng had given in, the man obviously let down his guard and said arrogantly, I'll talk. I'll tell you everything, as long as you don't kill me. Tang Zheng looked like a coward who was afraid of death. Xiao Bai looked at Tang Zheng in astonishment, then looked at the group of people who obviously harbored ill intentions. He bared his teeth, as if he wanted to spit fire. Tang Zheng's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He immediately hugged Xiao Bai in his arms. If you roast all these people, wouldn't you be exposed? Xiao Bai calmed down under Tang Zheng's suspicion, but he stared at the 10 people curiously with his eyes wide open. Even the heaven horse was staring at them without blinking. The most powerful expert in Tang Zheng's eyes walked in front of Tang Zheng. This person was only 165 meters tall, but his aura was oppressive, causing people to be unable to breathe. This person stared fixedly at Tang Zheng, as if he wanted to see through him. Fortunately, Tang Zheng had disguised himself well, so he was not seen through. You've always lived here, so do you know where the west is? The man pointed to the west and asked coldly. Chapter 242. West. Tang Zheng's mind trembled as he subconsciously looked towards the west. Wasn't that the forbidden area? Could it be that these people were also heading towards the forbidden area? But only a few people in the witch clan knew about the forbidden area. How did these outsiders know about it? Tang Zheng couldn't help but become more and more curious about the identities of these people. But he also heaved a sigh of relief. As long as they weren't here for the witch clan, then the witch clan would be safe for the time being. Sogu, 360, so. Do you know where the west is? The other party saw through Tang Zheng's expression and asked sternly. Tang Zheng hid it extremely well, but he was still found out, so he hurriedly nodded and said with a look of fear, Of course I know. That is where the demons live. Since they were also here for the forbidden area, and the forbidden area was so dangerous, why didn't Tang Zheng take the opportunity to let them be the vanguard? He only needed to quietly follow behind and take advantage of the situation. When these 10 people heard that it was a place where the demons lived, they were not afraid. Instead, they were very excited and eager to give it a try. Then do you know how to get there? Tang Zheng immediately shook his head like a rattle drum. I'm not going. If I go, I'll die. Another person rushed up and took out a blade and placed it on Tang Zheng's neck. He threatened with a stern voice, If you don't go, then I'll kill you right now. Perhaps the other party thought that Tang Zheng didn't know the power of guns, so he directly threatened him with a blade. When Tang Zheng saw this blade, his heart trembled. This was a katana, the same as the weapons used by the group of evil spirits he met in the ordinary balance. So this group of people were actually from Japan. No wonder their tone was so strange. But why did the Japanese travel so far and cross the ocean to come to the 10,000 mountains? Tang Zheng became more and more vigilant. Although it was a peaceful era, there were undercurrents, and their purpose for coming here was definitely not simple. Therefore, the key was to figure out their purpose. Tang Zheng pretended to be afraid and shouted, "What are you doing? Don't kill me, don't kill me. If you don't want to die, then take us to that place." Tang Zheng deliberately hesitated. "If you dare not agree, I will cut off your head right now." Creak, creak. Xiao Bai, who was in Tang Zheng's arms, grimaced. Seeing that Tang Zheng was in danger, it was about to spit fire and retaliate. Tang Zheng quickly covered its mouth and said in fear, "Okay, I promise you. I'll take you there. Please don't kill me." The other party laughed complacently, full of ridicule, and moved the katana to the side. "Chinaman is a coward." A group of people laughed wildly. Tang Zheng's anger surged, but he could only pretend that he didn't understand. He hatefully said in his heart, "You can laugh now, but I'll make sure you die without a burial. Let's go, lead the way." The man patted Tang Zheng's shoulder with his katana and said. Tang Zheng led the heaven horse towards the forbidden grounds. Before he came, the elder had already told him the way to the forbidden grounds, so he was quite familiar with it. If we had known earlier that there were these bumpkins, we wouldn't have lost more than 10 of our companions. Someone sighed. They all sacrificed their lives for the heavenly emperor. They died a worthy death. The most powerful person was obviously the leader, and he said righteously. Tang Zheng suddenly realized that they had not arrived here safely, but had paid a heavy price. This made sense. After all, there were too many unknown dangers in the forest. "Do you have any other family members?" The leader walked over and asked coldly. Tang Zheng pretended to be sad and shook his head. "No more." "Oh, then what else do you know about that place?" Tang Zheng shook his head blankly. "I don't know. I only know that I must not go there. If I go, I will die. I'll bring you to that place, and you'll let me go, okay?" The leader smiled non-committally. "Don't worry, it would be difficult for ordinary people to survive there, but we can definitely survive. You must come with us. We will protect you." Tang Zheng immediately waved his hands. No, that's a place of the devil. Don't want to go in." If you don't want to go in, I'll kill you right now." Another person threatened. Tang Zheng's entire body trembled. He was so scared that he did not dare to speak again. The leader glanced at the man and said with a pleasant expression, "Don't listen to his nonsense. As long as you complete this mission, I will definitely not treat you unfairly. I will give you a lot of benefits." Tang Zheng coldly snorted in disdain. "I think you wanted to scout the way and use me as cannon fodder. All right, since that's the case, let's see who will be the cannon fodder in the end. What kind of horse is this? It looks so tall and mighty." The leader placed his gaze on the heaven horse. The heaven horse was taller than the average horse and seemed to be extraordinary. "It's the wild horse in this forest." Tang Zheng lied. "Wild horse. Is there anything else?" Tang Zheng's heart moved. The other party had his eyes on the heaven horse. If he said that there was only one, then wouldn't it be snatched away immediately? Thus, he said, "There's still more? There's still quite a few." "Where is it?" Tang Zheng randomly pointed in a direction and said, "It's over there a bit far." The leader's mouth curled into a smile, and the others also laughed maliciously. Someone asked in a low voice, "Yamamoto, is this horse very special?" Of course, this horse's physique is rare. It is even more extraordinary than the purebred war horse raised by the Sky Emperor. If we can bring some back and offer them to the Sky Emperor will definitely be very happy. The others were secretly delighted. The Sky Emperor loved to collect all kinds of top horses in his life, so these people naturally wanted to do what he liked. "Then what's that little thing in your arms?" Yamamoto asked again. "It's a puppy I raised." Tang Zheng did not plan to tell the other party about Xiao Bai's uniqueness. Otherwise, it would definitely attract the attention of these people. Xiao Bai twisted his body, as if protesting against Tang Zheng calling him a puppy. Yamamoto looked deeply at Xiao Bai, and indeed, he was not much different from a normal puppy, so he ignored him. "Yamamoto, put our things on this brat's horse. Our war horse has been tired for so many days," someone suggested. Yamamoto nodded in agreement, and thus a few more bags of luggage appeared on the heaven horse's back. With the heaven horse's unruly personality, it originally wanted to resist, but it was only calmed down by Tang Zheng's firm hold. After half a day of arduous climbing and waiting, the group finally arrived at their destination. A huge stone tablet stood in front of them. The stone tablet was about 9 meters tall and was as black as ink. There were 4 shocking words carved on the stone tablet. Trespassers will die. These 4 words were incomparably red, as if they were written with blood. They had a soul-stirring magic, causing people to involuntarily feel reverence when they saw them. The 10 Japanese people all revealed excited expressions, especially the leader, Yamamoto, whose hands were trembling with excitement. One of them couldn't help but stroke the stone tablet and said with a trembling voice, "We finally found it, the Heavenly Emperor's blessing, on my hand." Before he could finish his excited words, the man screamed miserably. He raised his hand, his face full of pain and fear. His palm had already turned pitch black, and the black color was still rapidly expanding. Soon, it had spread to his arm. "There's poison on the stone tablet, don't touch it." Yamamoto turned pale with fright and shouted loudly. He pulled out his katana and with a swoosh, chopped off his opponent's arm without hesitation. The man screamed miserably and knelt on the ground. His facial muscles were almost twisted together, and thick black blood flowed out from his severed arm. When the others saw this, they all scattered in all directions and looked at their companions nervously. Originally, they thought that cutting off their arms would save their lives, but it was obvious that their thoughts were too simple. The black color continued to expand, and in an instant, even his face had turned black like charcoal, exactly the same color as the stone tablet in front of him. The heart-wrenching screams made people's hearts turn cold, and the following scene was even more frightening. The man's body began to fester, and after a minute, he turned into a skeleton. In the end, even the bones melted and seeped into the soil. The others had never seen such a shocking scene before, and their faces all turned pale. Yamamoto clenched his teeth and clenched his fists. "I'm going to kill you." Suddenly, a person rushed towards Tang Zheng, his huge fist attacking Tang Zheng. "It's all your fault, it's all your fault." Tang Zheng dodged in a sorry state, and finally dodged the fierce punch. Suppressing the urge to retaliate, he shouted, "He clearly touched the stone tablet and died. How did it become my fault? Why didn't you tell us not to touch the stone tablet?" The other party did not give up and asked fiercely, "I don't know either." Tang Zheng looked wronged on the surface, but in his heart, he was overjoyed. However, he really didn't know that the stone tablet was poisonous. What the elder said was true. This forbidden area was indeed extremely terrifying. Even the stone tablet at the entrance actually contained poison. "Stop!" Yamamoto suddenly roared, "He's still useful." The others glared at Tang Zheng, but did not shout to kill him anymore. "Bring us in," Yamamoto said in a deep voice. Tang Zheng did not retort anymore, and cowered as he led the people into the forbidden area. The sky in the forbidden area seemed to have dimmed a lot, and the trees in the forbidden area gradually became sparse. It was a lifeless scene. No one dared to touch any plants or anything else, because this place was definitely filled with danger. If they weren't careful, they would lose their lives. Tang Zheng also became extremely alert. Although he had already decided to kill this group of people, he still had to ensure his own safety first. Tang Zheng was pushed to the front of the group. He was obviously cannon fodder to scout the way. Tang Zheng looked left and right, but did not see any traces of demonic beasts. Didn't they say that demonic beasts were rampant in the forbidden area? Why was it so quiet? Yes, this was a deathly silence. There was no sound at all. It was too strange. "Hurry up and send a few demonic beasts over. Kill a few of these guys." Tang Zheng prayed silently. As if the heavens had heard his prayer, a series of muffled footsteps could be heard. A demonic beast jumped out and blocked their path. Tang Zheng cried out in fright and immediately retreated. He ran faster than a rabbit and immediately made the team face the demonic beast that had suddenly appeared. Chapter 243. The Japanese looked at the fleeing Tang Zheng in ridicule, and looked at the demonic beast that suddenly appeared without fear. This was a leopard demon, a few meters long, Its entire body was covered in spots, and its eyes were filled with an ominous glint. Why is this leopard so big? Someone muttered to themselves in confusion. However, the Yamamoto's gaze turned cold as he reminded them. This leopard is already a demonic beast. Everyone must be careful. Hearing that, Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. This Yamamoto actually knew about demonic beasts, so he was definitely not an ordinary warrior. However, he did not show any abnormality and continued to cower in the middle of the group. Kill! The Yamamoto suddenly shouted, and two figures rushed towards the leopard demon. In a flash, the two of them had already jumped onto the leopard demon's head, and their shining katanas fiercely chopped down. Whiz! The leopard demon leaped into the air, its speed even faster than the two of them. Its sharp claws had already grabbed onto one of their chests. Puff! A stream of blood splattered out, but it was not the Japanese's blood, but the leopard demon's blood. The two of them cooperated very well, and in just one round, the leopard demon was actually injured. The leopard demon landed on the ground in a sorry state and let out a heaven-shaking roar. The angry roar spread far and wide, and another angry roar sounded out, as if it was responding to the leopard demon. Tang Zheng's eyelids twitched. This short battle allowed him to see through too many things. This group of people who he could not see through were definitely not simple, especially that flawless killing move that had displayed their strength to the fullest. The absolute strength of these two people was actually around the 9th grade of body refining stage. These two people were only in their 20s, yet they had such a cultivation level. Without a doubt, they were definitely the best of the best. Tang Zheng was surprised, but he became even more cautious. Facing such a group of people with outstanding strength, even if he launched an attack himself, he might not be able to completely wipe them out. It would be better to let the demonic beasts consume their strength. When Yamamoto heard the roar in response from afar, his expression suddenly changed as he shouted, "End the battle quickly." As a result, two more people joined the battlefield. For katanas launched a swift and violent attack on the leopard demon, and in an instant, the leopard demon's life was harvested. "Go!" Yamamoto shouted loudly, and the few of them quickly rushed in one direction. Not long later, they heard an earth-shaking roar coming from behind them. It was obvious that the demonic beast's reinforcements had arrived. The few of them had ugly expressions on their faces. Yamamoto said in a deep voice, "These demonic beasts are the guardians of the tomb. We have to avoid them. Otherwise, if we get surrounded by them, it won't be good for us at all." Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. These people actually knew about the tomb. Logically speaking, the tomb should have been something that happened a long time ago. How did these people know about it? Tang Zheng felt that these people were getting stranger and stranger. Who is buried in that tomb? Why are there so many demonic beasts guarding it? Someone asked in confusion. Yamamoto was not in a hurry to answer. Instead, he carefully took out an ancient sheepskin scroll from the inner layer of his clothes and focused on reading the ancient scroll. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. This sheepskin scroll was definitely not something for the modern era, but something from a long time ago. He did not know what was recorded on it. Yamamoto did not let anyone else look at the sheepskin scroll. Instead, he stared at it for a long time and said, "The owner of the tomb is an ancient supreme expert. He has the ability to control hundreds of beasts and is respected as the Beast King. These are the demonic beasts that he subdued and their descendants." Tang Zheng really wanted to go up and take a look at what else was on the sheepskin scroll. He actually knew more than the Witch Clan elder. Everyone suddenly realized and sighed. Then how powerful is this Beast King to be able to subdue so many demonic beasts? Yamamoto shook his head. There are no records of this. No matter what, this place is guarded so tightly. There must be something extraordinary. Everyone revealed excited expressions. If it was an extraordinary item, then it would be a treasure. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. Originally, he had only come to understand why the demonic beasts wanted to capture Xiaobai and find the Heaven Yuan fruit. He did not expect that there would be treasures here, so he should not miss it. When Yamamoto spoke, he glanced at Tang Zheng and did not avoid him. In fact, this already showed that even if Tang Zheng was lucky enough to not die, he did not plan to let him continue to live. Go this way. The tomb is in that direction. Yamamoto pointed in a direction, then carefully put away the sheepskin scroll. Everyone immediately moved forward. After a while, the sky became darker and darker. The sun had already set and the sky was about to turn dark. This time, they did not encounter any demonic beasts. Everyone tried their best to remain silent. Tang Zheng once again walked to the front of the group and was warned that if he turned around and ran again, his head would be chopped off. Tang Zheng fearfully agreed and then continued to cower in the front. Suddenly, Tang Zheng saw a white fog in the distance, and this white fog quickly floated towards them. Its speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it was in front of them. Miasma. Tang Zheng had taken the antidote pill, but Heaven Horse and Xiao Bai were not afraid of the miasma, so they were not afraid at all and walked towards the miasma. Yamamoto had already realized that something was wrong. Towards the miasma, these people had suffered losses before, and some of their companions had even lost their lives. Thus, he immediately shouted, "Stop! You are not allowed to walk forward." However, Tang Zheng turned a deaf ear to him because he saw that there were still a few gas masks on the back of the Heaven Horse. Without the gas masks, these people would definitely die if they were to face the miasma. He did not want to let go of this great opportunity to exhaust their strength. Thus, Tang Zheng patted the back of his horse and quickly rushed into the miasma with the Heaven Horse. By the time Yamamoto reacted and wanted to chase after him, Tang Zheng had already disappeared into the miasma. Tang Zheng hid within the white wither and heard angry curses from afar, followed by miserable screams. Tang Zheng was overjoyed and said, "Someone must have died from inhaling the miasma." He looked at the luggage on the horse's back, threw it away, and then rode the Heaven Horse forward. However, without Yamamoto's guidance, it would not be easy for him to find the grave. However, he was not in a hurry to find the grave, so he decided to find the Heaven Yuan fruit first. The Heaven Yuan fruit grew in a place where Enshi gathered, and in this forbidden area, Tang Zheng could clearly feel that the Enshi was much denser than the Enshi outside. However, how to find the place where the Enshi gathered, which was also the place where the Enshi was the densest, was the key. However, this was not difficult for him. He took out the War Soul Sword, and with a thought, the War Soul Sword's black light expanded, and then a huge monster flew out from the sword. War Soul. The War Soul was formed from Enshi, so it was the most sensitive to Enshi. Moreover, the War Soul had undergone a lot of changes. Its body had shrunk a little, but it was more condensed. War Soul, find a place with the densest Enshi. Tang Zheng said. The War Soul understood his words, and now the two of them could communicate with each other in a simple manner. The War Soul led the way. Tang Zheng rode on the Heaven Horse, and Xiao Bai jumped onto Tang Zheng's shoulder, staring at the big fellow with wide eyes. As for Yamamoto and his group, they were not as comfortable as Tang Zheng. They could only watch as Tang Zheng disappeared into the miasma, and they did not have enough time to chase after him. They could only go and retrieve the gas masks on their war horses, but it was obvious that there were not enough of them. 9 people only had 5 gas masks, while the faces of the others and the horses were carried by the heavenly horses. They never thought that this move would kill them. If they let their war horses carry their luggage, then even if Tang Zheng escaped into the miasma, he would not be able to harm them. However, if the Heaven Horse did not have a face, then Tang Zheng would not be in a hurry to run away. Instead, he would follow them and think of other ways to trick them. Their unintentional actions had helped Tang Zheng, and there was no room for discussion. Yamamoto had already put on his gas mask, and seeing that the others were about to snatch the remaining 4 masks, he shouted, "The person with the strongest power will wear the mask." Immediately, the faces of the 4 people who were relatively weak turned pale, because this meant that they had to breathe in the miasma and die. Facing the threat of death, some people were unwilling to give up. They snatched a gas mask and prepared to put it on, but Yamamoto was even faster. With a raise of his hand, a slit appeared in the man's throat. Blood spurted out, and he fell to the ground. "You are royal warriors. You must have the spirit of sacrifice," Yamamoto said with killing intent. The few of them lowered their heads, not daring to act rashly. The four people with relatively high skills quickly put on their gas masks. At this time, the miasma had already surrounded the few of them. The warhorse immediately spat out white foam and fell to the ground dead. The three of them hurriedly circulated their energy to resist, but after a while, their faces turned pale. The veins on their foreheads popped out, and they foamed at the mouth. Their eyes rolled back, and they fell down weakly. The few people who survived had lucky looks on their faces. Yamamoto did not even look at him. He looked at the thick white fog and gritted his teeth in hatred. A person at the side said, "Yamamoto, that brat deliberately barged into the miasma to get rid of us. He must have a way to get out of danger. We were tricked by him. You dare trick us? We must find him and tear him into 10,000 pieces." The others gritted their teeth in hatred and agreed. Of course, Yamamoto knew that he had been tricked by Tang Zheng, and in front of so many of his subordinates, it was simply unforgivable. These high and mighty warriors of the Heavenly Emperor had actually been tricked by a country bumpkin in the mountains, and had even lost so many people's lives. He had to take revenge for this. He's definitely not alone. It's easier said than done for a person to live alone in this forest. Furthermore, the material of his clothes is very good, so I suspect that there are other people living with him. Once the matter here is settled, we must find him. Not only him, but his family will also die and be buried with them, Yamamoto said with killing intent. The others agreed with indignation. We must kill all of these Chinas, just like our ancestors did decades ago. Kill all of them. Yamamoto's eyes flashed with a fierce light. There will be such a chance. As long as we succeed this time, we will have the chance to come back and turn this land into ours. Kill them all. Chapter 244. Under the lead of the war soul, Tang Zheng walked out of the miasma and arrived in front of a cemetery. This was a large cemetery with many tombstones of different heights. Moreover, the gloomy aura was dense, causing people to uncontrollably feel fear. Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. Just how many people were buried here? There were actually so many graves. Didn't the Yamamoto say that there was only one Beast King's tomb? Tang Zheng could not figure it out, but looking at the Densin Shi, his face gradually revealed a look of joy. The Yin Shi is gathering here. Maybe there is a heaven yuan fruit. Thus, he lifted his leg and walked towards the cemetery. But just as he stepped into the cemetery, a furious roar came from beside his ears, and a strong gust of cold wind swept over. He turned pale with fright. Without even thinking, he subconsciously brandished the war soul sword and quickly slashed in the direction of the cold wind. Clang! With a muffled sound, a huge force was transmitted to Tang Zheng's arm. He retreated a few steps and barely managed to stabilize himself. Looking up, he finally saw the enemy clearly. He saw that the other party was wearing black armor and holding a spear in his hand. The tip of the spear was aimed at Tang Zheng. However, there was not the slightest bit of life on this person's body. Instead, there was a deathly aura around him. His entire body was enveloped in black Yin Shi, and his face was ferocious. This was definitely not a human, but was condensed from Yin Shi. It was like an evil spirit like the war soul, but it was clearly much stronger than the war soul. Tang Zheng's guess was right. This was not a living person, but a Yin general condensed from Yin Shi, extremely similar to the ghost general. If the war soul's strength increased, it would also become a Yin general in the future. The Yin general's strength did not lose out to the ghost general. Back then, the first-grade innate stage martial artist had suffered a great loss at the hands of the ghost general. Even though Tang Zheng's strength had greatly increased, a first-grade foundation establishment stage martial artist would definitely not be able to gain an advantage over the Yin general. Who are you? How dare you trespass into the prehistoric heavenly tomb? The Yin general asked sternly. Tang Zhang's heart skipped a beat. So prehistoric heavenly tomb was the name of this tomb. Could it be that this was the tomb of the Beast King that the Japanese were looking for? Since they were coveting the tomb of the Beast King, and the guy in front of him was obviously not so easy to deal with, Tang Zheng had an idea and asked, "Is the tomb of the Beast King inside?" This is not only the tomb of the Beast Kings, but also the resting place of many fallen sages. Outsiders are not allowed to disturb this place, the Yin general said coldly. Tang Zheng was shocked. There was actually more than just the Beast King's tomb here, which meant that the group of Japanese people's information was not completely correct. There were also many other great figures buried here, and they were all great figures that were not inferior to the Beast King. Tang Zheng had already been brought back to the country, so I had the opportunity to obtain it by chance. We can't forget their achievements, Yamamoto said seriously. Hey, the others immediately nodded. We will inherit the will of our ancestors. We will definitely let our army set foot on this land once again. Whiz! As soon as he finished speaking, a long spear attacked. One of the people's chest was directly pierced through, and then the person was nailed to the ground, the spear shaft trembling nonstop. The man's eyes widened as blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Even when he died, he didn't understand how he had suddenly died. The others all revealed looks of shock. At the same time, their bodies also moved, jumping in all directions as fast as lightning. As a result, when the Yin general's second round of attacks arrived, the few of them were finally able to avoid it. Trespassers, kill without mercy. The Yin general stopped and said sternly. The Yamamoto looked at the Yin general in anger and shouted, "You dare to kill my people. You're courting death. Trespassing into the prehistoric heavenly tomb. You are the ones who are about to die." The Yin general said coldly. "Yamamoto, why is there someone here? Didn't the sheepskin scroll say that this is only a tomb and that there's no one here?" A Japanese asked in panic. The Yamamoto stared fixedly at the Yin general and said, "Who said he was human? Can't you see that he's condensed from Yin-chi? Condensed from Yin-chi? Yes, if I'm not wrong. He should be a Yin general. I never thought that I would meet a Yin general here." The Yamamoto revealed the Yin general's origins in one sentence. Tang Zheng was hiding too far away. Otherwise, if he heard the Yamamoto's words, he would be even more surprised and would understand that his identity was definitely not a small matter. So what if you're a Yin general? Those who dare to kill our people will still be killed without hesitation. The Japanese did not put the Yin general in his eyes and said disdainfully. The Yamamoto said, "If you dare to go against me, you will indeed die." With that said, the Yamamoto rushed forward, the katana ruthlessly slashing towards the Yin general, but with a wave of the Yin general's hand, the spear flew back into his hand. Clang! With a muffled sound, the Yin general actually took a step back, but the Yamamoto quickly attacked again. The katana was extremely sharp, forcing the Yin general to continuously retreat. Tang Zheng was dumbstruck. So this Yamamoto is actually so powerful, he is at least a pre-celestial expert. He could not help but rejoice that he did not rashly make a move earlier. Otherwise, in front of this pre-celestial expert, he would be in too much danger. However, there was no need to worry too much. As long as he followed behind such an expert, it would be easier for him to enter the prehistoric heavenly tomb. If the Yamamoto was too weak and was directly blocked outside the tomb by the Yin general, Tang Zheng would not be able to enter. The battle between the Yamamoto and the Yin general had reached its climax. The Yin general's defeat was obvious, while the Yamamoto became braver and braver. Tang Zheng had to admit that the Japanese were sometimes very strong. The pre-celestial expert was a true expert in any country, and the leader of the other party's mission this time was a pre-celestial expert. This showed how much importance the Japanese placed on this mission. Kacha! Suddenly, a resplendent light erupted from the katana. With a slash of the katana, the long spear was actually cut in half. The Yin general staggered back, roaring in anger. However, the Yamamoto became more and more valiant. and another blade slashed down from the sky. Pucci, the En general, was actually split into two, turning into strands of En chi. The others all cheered. The Yamamoto is truly valiant. This En general is only a so. The Yamamoto's face revealed a complacent expression as he looked into the depths of the tomb and said, I don't know what unknown dangers lie ahead. We must not be careless. With the Yamamoto here, they are like mantises trying to stop a chariot. They overestimate themselves. The few of them flattered. Let's continue forward. I have a premonition that we will definitely return victorious this time. Furthermore, the fruits of our victory will definitely be more abundant than what we imagined before. The Yamamoto said. The other three nodded their heads. Then, they no longer looked at their dead companions and walked towards the depths of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. After the other party had walked far away, Tang Zheng quietly poked his head out, preparing to chase after them. But suddenly, the sound of fighting came from afar. Tang Zheng turned his head to look, only to see that under the night sky, under the moonlight, a few demonic beasts seemed to be surrounding a person, and the two sides were fighting intensely. Tang Zheng was shocked. There were actually other people in the Forbidden Grounds. Chapter 245. Who is this third group of people? Tang Zheng was very curious. He looked in the direction where the 5 Japanese disappeared and thought to himself, the road in the prehistoric heavenly tomb will definitely not be smooth sailing, thus they will not be walking very fast. Why don't we go and see who this third group of people is? Sogu, 360, So, he hid the heaven horse and Xiao Bai in a hidden place behind a large rock, and then quickly rushed over. The sounds of battle were extremely intense, and a figure danced like a butterfly, shuttling back and forth among the demonic beasts, not falling into a disadvantageous position at all. Tang Zheng immediately stopped in his tracks and hit his tracks. This figure was too familiar. It was unforgettable for him, and it had once made him gnash his teeth in hatred. Li Xiaotian. This familiar figure was actually Li Xiaotian. Why did she come to the Forbidden Grounds? When Tang Zheng returned, he was told that Li Xiaotian had left without saying goodbye, but he did not expect her to actually come to the 10,000 huge mountains, and it was obvious that she was here for the Forbidden Grounds. Wasn't the Forbidden Grounds a very mysterious place? Why was it the Japanese first, and now Li Xiaotian? Why did they all come here? This place was like a market. It was a bit too lively. However, he immediately thought of the Li Palace behind Li Xiaotian. The Li Palace was mysterious and unfathomable. It was also greater than over-equaled, the most powerful intelligence agency. Since the Japanese were able to find out about the existence of the Forbidden Grounds by chance, it seemed like it was not surprising that the Li Palace knew about the Forbidden Grounds. But at this moment, the strength that Li Xiaotian displayed caused Tang Zheng to be very shocked. This little girl's skills were actually so terrifying, it seemed like she was almost at the level of a pre-celestial expert. One had to know that Yi Tianlei had spent so much effort to break through to the pre-celestial realm, but Li Xiaotian had clearly reached the pre-celestial realm in his teens. What did this mean? This meant that Li Xiaotian was a monstrous existence, even more terrifying than the martial doe from back then. Tang Zheng had always thought that he was considered a monster, but he didn't expect that Li Xiaotian was the one who hid her strength. Moreover, it was obvious that she could hide her strength on the train and in the Long family. However, he did not consider how long he had been cultivating. Li Xiaotian, on the other hand, had been cultivating since he was young. Therefore, Li Xiaotian's cultivation speed was truly monstrous. This time, Li Xiaotian was clearly trapped by several monsters and had no choice but to display his full strength. In short, this holy maiden of Li Palace was not simple. Not only was she skilled, the key point was that she was capricious and cunning. Tang Zheng was not prepared to show herself. If these demonic beasts could kill her, it would naturally be a good thing. However, these demonic beasts obviously did not let Tang Zheng do as she wished. A moment later, all the demonic beasts fell to the ground dead. Li Xiaotian clapped her white palms and muttered to herself, "How troublesome! There are actually so many annoying fellows." Before she finished speaking, she had already jumped out and rushed towards the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Without the Een general's defense, she entered an uninhabited land, and in an instant, her figure disappeared into the forest of tombstones. Tang Zheng appeared and looked at the corpses of the demonic beasts. He quickly walked over, and with a few slashes, he cut open the demonic beast's stomachs and took out the demonic beast's inner cores. This was a good thing. Other than this forbidden area, it was very difficult to obtain it outside. Of course, Tang Zheng would not let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After placing the demonic beast's inner cores into the Sumera bag, he rode his heaven horse into the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Buzz, buzz! The war soul sword suddenly trembled. Tang Zheng's heart moved. He knew that it must have been stimulated by the dense Yin Qi here. So he channeled his power, causing a whirlpool to suddenly appear on the war soul sword, and the Yin Qi between heaven and earth was quickly sucked into the whirlpool. The war soul sword glowed with a black light, like a thirsty person crazily absorbing the Yin Qi. However, Tang Zheng still controlled his movements. If not, he would be discovered by the two groups of people in front of him. He would be in trouble. Suddenly, the sound of an intense battle came from the front. Tang Zheng saw Li Xiaotian stop in her tracks from afar and looked towards the direction of the battle. She seemed to hesitate for a moment, but did not walk towards the direction of the battle. Why is she so indifferent to the sounds of fighting? Could it be that she has some other secret? Tang Zheng was puzzled. The sounds of fighting were obviously caused by the Japanese. Tang Zheng really wanted to go and investigate, but it was obvious that Li Xiaotian had an even bigger secret, so he decided to follow her. Li Xiaotian's speed was very fast. After a while, she actually arrived in front of Dark House. There was actually another house in the cemetery, which was very strange. This house was not big, and it was as black as ink. Even the walls were black, and the door was so black that it seemed to be able to absorb all the light around it. The moonlight in the sky shone on the house. The moonlight contrasted with the blackness, making it look even more strange and creepy. Li Xiaotian pushed with both hands, and the sound of the door turning was especially ear-piercing in the silent cemetery as the door slowly opened. It was unknown what material this door was made of, but seemed very heavy. The moment the door opened, a gust of wind swept out with a large amount of Yin Qi. Li Xiaotian immediately retreated, dodging the dense Yin Qi. The war soul sword trembled nonstop, as if it wanted to absorb the Yin Qi. However, it was too far away, so it could only sigh helplessly. Whiz! The Yin Qi dissipated, and Li Xiaotian's figure disappeared into the door in a flash. Tang Zheng's line of sight was blocked. He did not know what was going on inside, and could not help but hesitate. No, I have to find out what she wants to do. Tang Zheng hid the heaven horse and Xiao by behind a huge stone tablet, then leaped to the door, just in time to see Fang Shishir walking to the center of the room. There was only one empty hall in this room, and it was also pitch black. What was strange was that there were 3 huge coffins in this room, causing people to shudder. It was unknown what material this coffin was made of, but after so many years, it was still intact. It was unknown if there was a corpse or something else inside the coffin. But immediately, Tang Zheng's gaze was attracted by something else. A large bow was hanging on the wall above the coffin, and Li Xiaotian was also staring at the bow. He was obviously very excited as he muttered to himself, "Heaven-shocking bow! I actually found the heaven-shocking bow." When Tang Zheng heard this from outside the door, he could not help but be puzzled. What kind of bow was this to actually be able to make this black-bellied Li Xiaotian so excited? Whiz! Li Xiaotian leaped towards the heaven-shocking bow. Just at this time, the 3 coffins moved, and the coffin lids flew up, blocking Li Xiaotian's path. Li Xiaotian turned pale with fright, but he did not panic. With a tap of his foot on the coffin lid, he retreated. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 cold lights rushed forward, grabbing towards Li Xiaotian's cheeks. Li Xiaotian retracted his head and dodged the attack, but a strand of hair on his forehead was cut off and floated down. When she landed on the ground, there were already 3 sinister and terrifying fellows in front of her. These 3 had the appearance of a human, but they were filled with a deathly aura, especially the faint light in their eyes. In addition, their fingernails were very long, like sharp blades. The three cold glints just now with the shadows of their attacks. There are actually zombies guarding the heaven-shocking bow, Li Xiaotian said coldly. He grabbed with his big hand and attacked one of them. Puff! Her slender white fingers actually pierced straight into the zombie's chest, but she was forced to stop, unable to advance even an inch. Whiz! The zombie acted as if it did not feel anything, its sharp nails directly grabbing towards Li Xiaotian's face. Li Xiaotian turned pale with fright and immediately retreated, but behind her, another zombie blocked her path. Poochie! The clothes on her back were torn apart, revealing a set of white clothes. When a zombie's fingernails scratched her clothes, dazzling sparks actually blossomed. Heavenly silkworm treasure armor. Tang Zheng's pupils constricted as he stared fixedly at the white robe. Such sharp nails were actually unable to harm her in the slightest. This heavenly silkworm treasure armor was simply too powerful. Li Xiaotian was in a sorry state under the siege of the three zombies. These three zombies were not comparable to those demonic beasts. They were exceptionally strong. Li Xiaotian's body had already been scratched countless times by the sharp nails, causing his clothes to become ragged, completely exposing the heavenly silkworm treasure armor, especially his towering chest, which was especially eye-catching. She was furious. These damned zombies were definitely perverts when they were alive, if not for the fact that she was wearing the heavenly silkworm treasure armor. Wouldn't she have been exposed? In fact, zombies were all dead creatures without any consciousness. They attacked indiscriminately and only wanted to kill their enemies. Of course, they would not consider whether they were perverts or not. Li Xiaotian tenderly shouted, and her attack also became fierce. Poochie! Her hand chopped at the neck of a zombie, so a huge head directly flew up. The zombie fell to the ground with a loud bang, but the other two zombies did not seem to see their companion at all. Their attacks were still extremely fierce and dangerous. I'm going to kill all of you. You dare to stop me from obtaining the heaven-shocking bow. All of you die for this beauty. Li Xiaotian scolded angrily. Tang Zheng watched the battle intently. Obviously, Li Xiaotian's strength was slightly better than hers, so the heaven-shocking bow would definitely fall into her hands. You've tricked me so many times, I definitely can't let you succeed. This heaven-shocking bow is mine, Tang Zheng said quietly, and in a flash he rushed into the house. All of a sudden, the three sides of the fierce battle did not notice Tang Zheng, the uninvited guest, and Tang Zheng used the shrinking ground into an inch technique to quickly close the distance between him and the heaven-shocking bow. Finally, when he arrived at the bottom of the heaven-shocking bow, the three sides that were just inches away finally saw Tang Zheng. At that moment, Tang Zheng had already used a piece of clothing to cover his face, and for a moment, Li Xiaotian did not recognize him. Whiz! Tang Zheng tapped on the coffin with the tip of his foot and soared into the sky. Amidst a few shocked roars, Tang Zheng had already grabbed onto the heaven-shocking bow. Li Xiaotian's eyes were bloodshot. She never thought that there would be someone who dared to take advantage of the situation to steal her treasure, and could not help but shout angrily, "Put down the heaven-shocking bow!" Her figure flashed, wanting to attack Tang Zheng, but two sharp sounds of wind came from behind her. The two zombies had already treated her as their mortal enemy. Li Xiaotian was flustered and exasperated. Damn it, you guys should go and stop him. The heaven-shocking bow is about to be stolen by him. As if a reminder had worked, the zombie abandoned her and grabbed towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng flew up and kicked the zombie's arm, then used the rebound force to fly over their heads. Chapter 246. Seeing Tang Zheng flying over his head, Li Xiaotian flew into a rage. Stay here. He pushed the zombie away with his palm, then soared into the air and grabbed onto the heaven-shocking bow. Of course, Tang Zheng would not let go. With a pull, Li Xiaotian was pulled in front of him. When their eyes met, Li Xiaotian felt that this pair of eyes was somewhat familiar, but he could not remember where he had seen them before. But this was not the key point. She was already extremely angry and shouted, "Give it to me!" vigorously snatching the heaven-shocking bow. How could Tang Zheng let go? In fact, he was more worried that she would tear off the cloth on his face, so he pushed out with his palm, wanting to shake the other party off. However, he did not expect that his hand would directly push onto the towering chest. The soft feeling made Tang Zheng suddenly realize what he had done. Li Xiaoyan's entire body stiffened, his face flushed red to his neck, and he actually subconsciously let go of the heaven-shocking bow and slapped him. Rogue! Tang Zheng was lucky enough to hit the mark. Seeing that she had let go, he anxiously flew back, landed at the door, and quickly disappeared into the night. Li Xiaotian roared unwillingly, "Stop right there, rogue! Return the heaven-shocking bow to me. I will skin you alive and pull out your tendons." He chased after him and disappeared through the door. The two zombies also rushed to the door, but stopped in their tracks. They could only roar in the direction where the two of them had disappeared. They seemed to be unable to leave the house, and could only watch as the two of them escaped. Tang Zheng rode on the heaven horse and whipped it, running wildly without stopping. The heaven-shocking bow had long been kept in the Sumeru bag, and he could vaguely hear Li Xiaoyan's angry roars coming from behind him. The corner of his mouth curled up, and he muttered to himself, "Li Xiaotian, I told you to trick me. This is retribution." He didn't know how far he had run, but suddenly the sound of fighting came from the front. These Japanese bastards still haven't finished fighting. Could it be that we've met a top expert this time? Tang Zheng guessed. Then he slowed down and quietly approached. In front of a huge circular tomb, an intense battle was taking place. Out of the 4 Japanese, only 2 were left, Yamamoto and the other one, while the other 2 had already died in a pool of blood. The ones fighting the Japanese were not humans, but demonic beasts. There were a few demonic beast corpses on the ground, and one of the 2 demonic beasts that were fighting the Japanese was the Kuei cow that had escaped. The other demonic beast was completely different from the other demonic beasts. Its appearance was actually not much different from a human's, except that it had a single horn on its forehead, which made it look particularly awkward. Its entire body was covered in red scales, and it was impregnable. The katana did not leave a single mark on its body, and when it punched out, a tombstone was smashed into pieces. What kind of demonic beast is this? To think that he has already taken human form. Tang Zheng was extremely curious. He knew that after all living things turned into demons, as long as they reached a certain realm, they would be able to take human form. This demonic beast had a horn on its forehead, which meant that it had not completely transformed into a human. However, its current appearance was enough to show that it was extremely powerful. Tang Zheng did not dare to be careless. He wanted to hide far away to watch the battle. But just as he was about to leave, he heard a strong gust of wind behind him. Crap! Li Xiaotian had caught up. She must have been attracted by the sounds of fighting. Tang Zheng was only focused on watching the show and forgot about this annoying dog skin plaster. Tang Zheng pulled on the reins, and the heaven horse jumped to the side, barely dodging Li Xiaoyan's attack. However, he was completely exposed in front of everyone. When Yamamoto saw Tang Zheng, he flew into a rage. "Brat, it's actually you. You caused the death of my teammates. I will kill you." The other Japanese immediately brandished his katana and attacked Tang Zheng. Before Tang Zheng could even react, Xiao Bai had already opened his mouth and spat out a stream of flames. The Japanese immediately turned into a fireball and let out a heart-wrenching scream. The little guy had been holding back against this group of Japanese for too long. Now, he could finally attack them without any restraint. Even Yamamoto looked at Xiao Bai in shock. This little animal that looked like a puppy could actually spit fire. Only now did Yamamoto understand that he had really made a mistake and had been tricked to death by the other party's act of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Now that all of his teammates were dead, he was the only one left. Of course, when some people were angry, there were people who were happy. When Tang Zheng appeared, the two demonic beasts' gazes focused on him, and the Kuei cow immediately shouted excitedly, "Lord Demon Commander, it's them. The one standing on his shoulder is the holy beast we are looking for." The humanoid demonic beast was actually a demon commander. It stared straight at Tang Zheng and Xiao Bai and said, "You actually delivered yourself to me, then I won't have to personally look for you." When Yamamoto heard these words, he looked at Tang Zheng and Xiao Bai in shock. Just who was this person, and why did he have a grudge with the demonic beasts in prehistoric Heavenly Tomb? Even Li Xiaotian, who had caught up, was extremely surprised. He opened his eyes wide, as if he wanted to see through him, and said sternly, "Hurry up and return my heaven-shocking bow to me." Tang Zheng chuckled. "Who said it was yours?" "I was the one who got it first." Li Xiaotian was flustered and exasperated. "If it wasn't for me restraining the zombie, how could you have succeeded? Where exactly are you hiding? Hurry up and take it out." Tang Zheng said with ill intentions, "How can I give you my things? You're too shameless. It's clearly mine, okay? You guys actually stole the heaven-shocking bow. How dare you? The heaven-shocking bow is an item from the prehistoric Heavenly Tomb. No one can take it away." The demon commander said. Li Xiaotian glanced at the demon commander and said, "I was the one who found the heaven-shocking bow, so it's mine? What prehistoric Heavenly Tombs item? What nonsense!" Demon commander flew into a rage. "You still dare to speak such arrogant words? Kuei cow, let's snatch the holy beast first, and then revive the Beast King. Then, Lord Beast King will be the master of this prehistoric Heavenly Tomb." Revive the Beast King? Tang Zheng and Yamamoto turned pale with fright. The Beast King has been dead for who knows how many years. How can it be revived? Demon Commander said disdainfully, "Lord Beast King's divine power is unparalleled. It is not something you can imagine. As long as you have the blood of a holy beast, you can revive the Beast King. We have been waiting for this day for countless years. The heavens have eyes. The holy beast has descended. The Beast King can finally be revived." Tang Zheng was shocked. So the reason why they had mobilized so many people to snatch Xiao Bai was to revive the Beast King. In that case, Xiao Bai's miraculous abilities were far beyond his imagination. Xiao Bai looked at all of this blankly, completely ignoring all of the blazing gazes. Yamamoto had already made up his mind to snatch Xiao Bai away. Even Li Xiaotian, who was only concerned about the heaven-shocking bow, couldn't help but look at Xiao Bai a few more times. Was this little guy really as powerful as the other party said? He could bring people back from the dead? Actually, it was a coincidence that Li Xiaotian came to the Forbidden Grounds. The Li Palace collected all the information in the world, but she did not know anything about the Forbidden Grounds. She only found out by chance from an ancient piece of information that there was a peerless divine bow in this place. Heaven-shocking bow. Legend has it that the heaven-shocking bow was the weapon of a very powerful person in ancient times. With a bow in hand, it could shake the heavens and earth. Li Xiaotian had heard of the legend of this great figure before, and was very interested in the heaven-shocking bow. More importantly, the heaven-shocking bow was not a magic treasure, but a weapon that could be used by warriors. This was the reason why she had come all the way to the southern Yunnan. This was also her first mission as the Holy Maiden of Li Palace. After expending a lot of effort, he had finally arrived at this vast 10,000 huge mountains. Furthermore, he had even barged into this prehistoric heavenly tomb. The heaven-shocking bow was within reach, but he was robbed by this Chun Yao Jin who had appeared out of nowhere. Li Xiaotian had never been wronged like this since he was young. It was truly too aggrieving. In addition, she was also filled with curiosity towards this prehistoric heavenly tomb. Li Palace had always considered itself rich in information, but there was actually no news about this prehistoric heavenly tomb. She felt that it was too inconceivable, and when she returned, she had to do her best to investigate when this prehistoric heavenly tomb was created and what kind of miraculous origins it had. But that was a matter for the future. Right now, She had to snatch the heaven-shocking bow back, so she said bluntly, "I don't care what grudges you have. I just want my heaven-shocking bow. Quickly return it to me." Tang Zheng did not care about them. He only stared at them warily. Without a doubt, he had become the target of public criticism, and everyone wanted to deal with him. He could not help but laugh bitterly. He had originally planned to hide at the back and pick up the scraps, but now he was pushed to the front of the stage. Furthermore, he was the one with the lower cultivation here, so the situation was not optimistic. The demon commander could not wait any longer. With a loud roar, he directly attacked Tang Zheng. "Give me the holy beast." Tang Zheng's expression did not change as he said, "Xiao Bai, hold on tight, don't fall." Xiao Bai seemed to have felt his nervousness as he nodded his head seriously. He hugged Tang Zheng's head tightly and stared at the demon commander who was rushing towards him. Boom! With a mouthful of flames, Xiao Bai made the first move. The demon commander had obviously expected this, and soared into the air like lightning, dodging the attack. Furthermore, he punched down straight towards Tang Zheng's head. Tang Zheng immediately retreated and hid behind Li Xiaotian. The demon commander was even stronger than Yamamoto, so of course he was not a match for the demon commander, and Li Xiaotian became the best shield. "Didn't you want the heaven-shocking bow? Help me block him first. Otherwise, if I die, no one will tell you where the heaven-shocking bow is." Tang Zheng laughed sinisterly. Li Xiaotian was stunned and scolded, "You're too despicable. I learned it from you." Li Xiaotian did not have the chance to figure out the meaning behind these words. Because the demon commander's attack was already in front of her, she had no choice but to make a move. She turned her head and glared at Tang Zheng and said, "If I help you, will you give me the heaven-shocking bow?" Tang Zheng said seriously, "If you help me, I'll tell you where the heaven-shocking bow is." "All right, it's a deal." Seeing Li Xiaotian rushing out, Tang Zheng could not help but secretly rejoice. This woman looked black-bellied, but she was actually a little stupid and did not understand the meaning behind his words. Tang Zheng only said that he would tell her where the heaven-shocking bow was, but he did not say that he would give it to her. But this was also good. She had tricked him in the past, so he would also trick her once. Chapter 247. The demon commander's attack was very sharp, and his fist, which was enough to split open a stone, arrived in front of Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian, on the other hand, was like a dancing butterfly. With a beautiful posture, she narrowly avoided the demon commander's attack, and a pair of white jade hands pressed down on the demon commander's chest like lightning. Bang! The demon commander was forced back 3 steps, his chest caved in, but his entire body was covered in bright red scales, so he did not suffer any heavy injuries. This short exchange caused everyone to feel a chill in their hearts, especially the Yamamoto. His face revealed an expression of shock as he thought to himself, "Who exactly is this girl? How could she be so powerful at such a young age? He was simply a genius." But with you holding back the demon commander, I can deal with this despicable mass brat." The Yamamoto's gaze was aimed at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng felt the unfriendly gaze and thought, "This Japanese is also a pre-celestial stage expert. I have to be careful." Whiz. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew towards him. The Kuei cow rushed to attack him, wanting to snatch the holy beast Xiao Bai. At the same time, the Yamamoto also moved. His target was not only Tang Zheng, but also Xiao Bai. The Yamamoto attacked first, his katana slashing towards Tang Zheng's neck. Tang Zheng anxiously raised his war soul sword to block, and with a clang, he was able to block the attack. However, the Yamamoto's cultivation was much higher than his, so he still felt as if the war soul sword was about to fly out of his hands. At this time, the Kuei cow's attack also arrived. The attacks from the front and back made Tang Zheng unable to take it all in, causing him to be flustered. Boom! A flame soared into the sky. Xiao Bai spat out fire again, angrily staring at the 2 enemies. The Kuei cow had suffered a loss from Xiao Bai and retreated in a sorry state. As for the Yamamoto, He had just witnessed the scene of one of his companions being burned to charcoal, so he was also rather fearful. However, the man and the demon had a tacit understanding. After dodging Xiao Bai's attack, they actually launched a pincer attack on Tang Zheng from the left and right. Tang Zheng was already having a hard time dealing with one person, let alone two. Even though he had Xiao Bai's help, the attacks of the two still made him pale in comparison. "No, this is not the way," Tang Zheng said suddenly. The black light of the War Soul Sword expanded, and the War Soul Sword flew out with a so sound and charged towards the aggressive Kuei cow. Roar! The battle spirit let out a long roar, and from all directions, countless amounts of yin qi gathered towards him. In an instant, the yin qi on his body became even denser, and his body shrank a bit, appearing more condensed. In his hand was a sword condensed from yin qi, and he chopped towards the Kuei cow. Clang! Sparks flew in all directions. The powerful Kuei cow was actually knocked over by the slash and was in a sorry state. When Yamamoto and Li Xiaotian saw this scene, they simultaneously cast their gazes on Tang Zheng and said in shock, "Cultivator, you are actually a cultivator." Tang Zheng snorted but did not comment. In this battle, he would reveal his identity sooner or later, and the key was that as long as the cloth on his face did not fall off, that would be enough. Unexpectedly, while Li Xiaotian was fighting fiercely with the demon commander, he said with interest, "I am very curious about what you look like to be so cowardly, not daring to show your face." Tang Zheng could not help but roll his eyes. "You still want to see my true face? Dream on." With the help of the War Soul, the Kuei cow was obviously entangled. The yin qi here was dense, and the War Soul was becoming more and more ferocious. The War Soul Sword also crazily absorbed the yin qi, forming a huge whirlpool between the heaven and earth, like a tornado. The War Soul Sword began to tremble violently, the sword humming incessantly, its fighting spirit soaring. The Yamamoto looked greedily at the War Soul Sword and said, "It's actually a magic treasure. I must snatch it away." Whiz! The katana slashed over again, but Tang Zheng did not face it head-on, instead placing his gaze on the huge, circular tomb in front of him. Without a doubt, this was the tomb of the Beast King, and this group of Japanese people had come for this tomb. What exactly was inside? Tang Zheng really wanted to go in and investigate, because according to what the Yamamoto had said, there must be something good in the tomb. If not, they would not have come all the way here. Seeing that Tang Zheng did not face the enemy head-on, and that his figure was erratic, using his lightning-fast figure to dodge the attack, the Yamamoto was furious and roared, "Stop! You are not allowed to escape. If I don't run, do you want me to stick my head under your blade?" Tang Zheng rolled his eyes at him and suddenly retreated, arriving in front of the tomb. The War Soul Sword suddenly slashed down. Boom! With a loud sound, gravel flew everywhere. A huge hole was hacked open in the tomb, and a ray of light shot out from the tomb. Yamamoto was startled. He did not continue to attack, but stared at the tomb, his face revealing excitement. He actually abandoned Tang Zheng and rushed towards the crack. "Stop right there!" The Kuei cow roared, and forcefully took the blade of the War Soul. In a flash, it arrived in front of the tomb, wanting to stop the Yamamoto. The Yamamoto's strength was already stronger than the Kuei cow's. With a slash of his blade on the Kuei cow's body that was blocking his way, blood splattered everywhere. Then, the Yamamoto disappeared into the crack. When the demon commander saw this scene, his face turned pale with fright, and he roared, "You dare to trespass into the Beast King's tomb? I will kill you all." However, he was tightly entangled by Li Xiaotian and was actually unable to save him. Of course, Tang Zheng would not let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so he also rushed into the tomb. The tomb was very wide, like a huge stone house, and in the center of the tomb was a huge stone coffin. The Yamamoto quickly pounced towards the stone coffin and was about to open it. At this time, the Kuei cow also rushed in and roared, "You are not allowed to attack." The Yamamoto said in disdain, No one can stop me from obtaining the Beast King's blood essence." Before he finished speaking, with a muffled bang, the sarcophagus was fiercely pushed open, and a bloody light soared into the sky from the sarcophagus. The Yamamoto was enveloped by the blood light, and his body actually started to rot. He screamed in fear and staggered backwards. Tang Zheng originally wanted to rush over as well, but he suddenly stopped in his tracks. This blood light was too terrifying. Just by being illuminated by it, his entire body started to fester. The Yamamoto did not expect such an outcome. He screamed, and not long later, his face became full of holes and disfigured. The Kuei cow said in disdain, "The Beast King's blood essence is not something an ordinary person like you can covet. You are simply courting death." The expression in the Yamamoto's eyes kept changing as he stared at the sarcophagus unwillingly. The Beast King's blood essence was right in front of him, but he could only shrink back. Tang Zheng was very curious about what exactly the Beast King's blood essence was, to actually have such power, but he did not dare to approach it without permission. Even the Kuei cow hid far away, as if it was afraid of being affected by the Beast King's blood essence. Whiz! Suddenly, a white figure jumped up from Tang Zheng's shoulder. Xiao Bai actually jumped into the sarcophagus without hesitation. Tang Zheng was shocked and immediately chased after him. "Xiao Bai, come back quickly." As he spoke, he had already rushed to the front of the sarcophagus and clearly saw the scene inside. Inside the sarcophagus lay a skeleton, and a finger-sized drop of blood floated on the skeleton's chest, emitting a strange bloody light. Previously, the Yamamoto had been injured by this bloody light. Furthermore, without a doubt, this was the so-called Beast King's blood essence. Tang Zheng did not have time to stop Xiao Bai. It had already pounced towards the drop of Beast King's blood essence, opened its small mouth, and swallowed it in one gulp. Even though Tang Zheng was thick-skinned, he was still completely shocked by this scene. Even Yamamoto and the Kuei cow who were rushing over were stunned by Xiao Bai's ferocious performance. The Kuei cow cried out, He actually swallowed the Beast King's blood essence. Xiao Bai stood on the skeleton and proudly shook his tail. Then, he jumped onto Tang Zheng's shoulder and hugged Tang Zheng's head with a satisfied expression. Yamamoto's bumpy face faced Tang Zheng and stared straight at Xiao Bai. The greed in his eyes was self-evident. "As long as I catch this holy beast, I will have a chance to obtain the Beast King's blood essence." Just at this time, Demon Commander and Li Xiaotian also rushed into the tomb. Seeing the few of them staring at Xiao Bai with strange expressions, Demon Commander hurriedly asked, "What's wrong?" The Kuei cow pointed at Xiao Bai and said fearfully, "The Beast King's blood essence was eaten by the holy beast." Demon Commander opened his eyes wide in disbelief and said, "Then what are you still standing there for? Catch the holy beast and drip its blood on the Beast King's corpse. The Beast King will be revived." The Kuei cow seemed to have awoken from a dream. "Yes, we will definitely revive the Beast King." Demon Commander took the lead and rushed toward Xiao Bai. Of course, Tang Zheng would not ignore him. He suddenly used the heaven-flying immortal sword technique and thrust it out, the biting cold sword tip directly piercing Demon Commander's body. However, Demon Commander's entire body was wrapped in armor, so he was not injured at all. Instead, he grabbed toward Xiao Bai as if he was taking something out of his bag. At the same time, the Kuei cow and Yamamoto also moved at the same time. Both of their targets were Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai flew into a rage and started to squeak loudly. With a boom, he spat out a stream of flames. The three sides narrowly avoided it, while Tang Zheng was forced to the front of the sarcophagus with nowhere to retreat. "What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and help me." Seeing that Li Xiaotian was indifferent, Tang Zheng could not help but roar. Li Xiaotian hesitated for a moment, but in the end, she quickly rushed forward to save them. Yamamoto and the Kuei cow were stopped by her. Tang Zheng only needed to face one Demon Commander, but the pressure on him did not decrease by much. The Demon Commander's attacks rose and fell continuously, causing Tang Zheng to be unable to resist at all. But with Xiao Bai's fire breath as a suppression, it would not be difficult for the demon commander to win immediately. Today, the Beast King has been revived. We will use your blood to celebrate the Beast King's revival. Demon commander was filled with killing intent. The Beast King is already dead. Why are you sacrificing Xiao Bai to revive him? I won't let you succeed. Tang Zheng replied in a tit-for-tat manner. Humph. The Beast King is my leader. Reviving him is where I blame myself. Anyone who dares to stop me must die. How preposterous. Tang Zheng's gaze swept over and landed on the skeleton inside the sarcophagus. His heart stirred as he said, Xiao Bai, burn this skeleton for me. I want to turn him into ashes and see how he can revive. Xiao Bai understood what Tang Zheng meant. His eyes lit up as he angrily opened his mouth and spat out flames at the sarcophagus. Boom! The sarcophagus was filled with flames. Chapter 248. The inside of the sarcophagus ignited with a raging flame, causing the others to be dumbstruck. No one expected Tang Zheng to do such a thing, and the culprit Little White was even proudly grinning its little mouth and laughing loudly. I'm going to kill you. The demon commander roared and crazily attacked Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was unable to dodge in time, and with a bang he took a fist and flew out. Before he could even stand up, the demon commander's attack followed him like a shadow and arrived in front of him. This attack was extremely powerful, and Tang Zheng would definitely not be able to withstand it. Boom! Flames spewed out, and the demon commander staggered back, glaring angrily. Do you think that just because you have a holy beast, I can't do anything to you? Whoosh! A gust of cold wind swept past, and the war soul arrived in front of Tang Zheng, blocking the demon commander. It's just an evil spirit. Let's see how you can stop me. The demon commander roared in disdain and quickly fought with the war soul. Puff! One of the war soul's arms was directly torn off, but the war soul still did not retreat in the slightest. Since Xiao Bai has already obtained the Beast King's blood essence, I should take the opportunity to leave this place first. Tang Zheng already had the intention to retreat. Just at this time, Xiao Bai shouted angrily and then bit down on Tang Zheng's shoulder. Tang Zheng cried out in pain, Xiao Bai, what are you doing? But as soon as he finished speaking, he felt a surge of energy flowing from his wound to his 8 extraordinary meridians. His body was like an inflated balloon, instantly filled with boundless energy. This power was blood-red in color, completely different from his innate qi. He couldn't help but think of the Beast King's blood essence that Xiao Bai had swallowed. Could this be the power of the blood essence? He did not have time to think about it because this power was about to burst his body. He had to release it. Thus, his hands involuntarily gripped onto the war soul's sword, his expression becoming extremely serious. He aimed at the demon commander and shouted, Go to hell. Without any fancy moves, the war soul sword left his hand. The black war soul sword actually glowed with a blood-red light, and an earth-shattering aura spread out. The demon commander was originally confident that he could kill Tang Zheng, but when he saw the flying sword, he felt a sense of unparalleled fear from the bottom of his heart. The demon commander was already safely enveloped by the sword intent of the war soul sword, and had nowhere to run. Thus, it raised its hands with all its might, and the scales on its body began to glow. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire tomb seemed to tremble. The demon commander lowered his head in shock and saw that there was actually a large bloody hole in his chest. His impregnable scales were actually unable to block the attack of the war soul sword. Furthermore, the war soul sword did not stop after piercing through his body. In an instant, it pierced through the dome of the tomb above, causing the tomb to collapse with a loud bang. The demon commander allowed the rubble above to smash into his body, as if he had already lost consciousness. The shock in its heart was hard to describe. There was only one thought in its mind. How could this brat be so powerful? That sword strike actually had the might of the Beast King from back then. Why was it like this? He did not see Xiao Bai bite Tang Zheng. Xiao Bai's bite was not simple. It had eaten the Beast King's blood essence, so it was hard for ordinary people to imagine just how powerful it was. If a person swallowed that drop of blood essence, their body would probably explode and they would die. Only the incomparably miraculous Xiao Bai could withstand this power. However, even it did not completely digest this power. So when it bit Tang Zheng just now, it transferred a portion of the power of the blood essence to Tang Zheng's body. In that instant, Tang Zheng's cultivation did not increase, but his fighting strength increased exponentially because of this power. That sword strike had consumed a large portion of the power of the blood essence. Its power was unimaginable. So even when the demon commander died, he did not understand why such a huge change would happen. The other three also subconsciously stopped fighting, dumbstruck, especially the Kuei cow. It roared and rushed over to support the demon commander, shouting, "Lord Demon Commander, how are you?" The demon commander did not answer, but stared straight at Tang Zheng and said, "We failed at the last step. I never thought that after waiting for so many years for the Saint Beast to descend, we would still not be able to revive the Beast King as we wished. Brat, you broke our hope. I will not let you go. This is the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Do you think that everything will be fine if you kill me? In your dreams, I will bury all of you here." With that, the demon commander's body lit up. The Kuei cow turned pale with fright. "Lord Demon Commander, you want to self-destruct?" Kuei cow, remember, you must keep them in the prehistoric heavenly tomb and take revenge for the Beast King. The demon commander shouted, and then his voice suddenly stopped. With a loud explosion, the demon commander exploded and died, turning into rays of light that filled the sky and scattered in all directions. The Kuei cow was dumbstruck. Li Xiaotian and Yamamoto had mixed feelings. Looking at Tang Zheng, they realized that his expression was cold, and the War Soul sword had returned to his hands. His body was like an unsheathed, treasured sword, and the War Soul sword was still trembling nonstop, as though it could attack again at any time. Xiao Bai stood on his shoulder, pleased with himself, and raised his head high. Tang Zheng took a deep breath. He still felt that there was a residual power in his body that was ready to move. He turned his gaze and stared at Yamamoto. This person had seen his face before, so he definitely could not stay. If he were to leave the forbidden grounds, the consequences would be unimaginable, and he would not be able to live a peaceful life in the future. Li Xiaotian was not an easy person to deal with either. When Tang Zheng used the War Soul sword, her identity had already been exposed. Back then, she had seen the War Soul sword more than once. When Tang Zheng's gaze turned towards Li Xiaotian, she also happened to stare straight at him. Their eyes met, and the surprise in Li Xiaotian's eyes was hard to hide. "Tang Zheng, you actually didn't die," Li Xiaotian said meaningfully. Back then, she was filled with curiosity towards Tang Zheng, and even stuck to him in order to figure out his secrets. But in the end, he fell off the cliff. Li Xiaotian thought that he was dead, so he left the Long family and came to the 10,000 huge mountains to continue his mission. But no matter what, she never would have thought that she would see the living Tang Zheng again. Furthermore, he was a cultivator. Li Xiaotian had been in contact with all kinds of information since he was young, so he was not unfamiliar with cultivators. He also knew that the martial sect had never stopped chasing after cultivators all these years. Immediately, she became even more curious about Tang Zheng. She knew nothing about the world of cultivators, but she was an extremely curious person, so it was even more impossible for her to let go of a person like Tang Zheng who was filled with many secrets. When Tang Zheng heard Li Xiaotian call out his name, he did not deny it. He tore off his mask and said, "You even recognized me. Hee, it really is you. Your sword is too unique. It makes people remember it well. How could I forget it? Tang Zheng, you are really too ungrateful. Just now, you even snatched my heaven-shocking bow and threatened me to help you deal with a strong enemy." Li Xiaotian said indignantly. Tang Zheng no longer cared about her complaints, but directly fixed his gaze on Yamamoto and said, "Li Xiaotian, let's talk about our matters in the future. Let's kill this Japanese first, or else there will be endless trouble in the future. Li Xiaotian asked in astonishment. He's actually a Japanese? As he said that, he frowned. I hate Japanese the most in my life. A fierce light flashed in his eyes as he directly attacked Yamamoto. Tang Zheng's movements were also extremely fast. With the left and right coordination, he immediately made it impossible for Yamamoto to retreat. Yamamoto was already having a hard time facing Li Xiaotian, and now that Tang Zheng's fighting strength had increased by several times, his decline was obvious. The War Soul sword slashed out with a whistling sound, causing Yamamoto to immediately retreat and dodge. With the example of the demon commander, he did not dare to take it head-on. But the moment he dodged, Li Xiaotian seemed to be waiting for him and slapped him with his palm. He couldn't help but let out a miserable cry and staggered to the ground. Tang Zheng's attack followed him like a shadow and once again arrived in front of him. He immediately raised his katana to block. Kacha! The War Soul sword slashed onto the katana, causing the katana to break into two pieces. The tip of the sword brushed past his forehead, scaring him so much that his soul almost flew out of his body. He already had the intention to retreat. This pair of man and woman wanted his life, so he could not stay here for long. Otherwise, he would definitely lose his life here. There was someone who ran faster than him. Just as he had this thought, the Kuei cow ran away. Tang Zheng glanced at it from the corner of his eyes and shouted, "Battle Soul, stop it for me." The War Soul jumped out with a whoosh, temporarily stopping the Kuei cow. The Kuei cow roared again and again, but it was unable to completely get rid of the War Soul. Just now, one of the War Soul's arms had been forcefully torn off by the demon commander, but now a new one had grown out. This was because the War Soul was originally formed from Yin-Shi, and the Yin-Shi here was dense. Without spending much time, he could quickly recover his injured body. Let's work harder and get rid of him quickly, Tang Zheng urged. Li Xiaotian snorted coldly. He did not say a word, but his attacks became even fiercer, and he struck Yamamoto's chest a few more times. Without his katana, his fighting strength decreased sharply. Tang Zheng saw the opportunity and slashed out with his sword. Yamamoto immediately retreated, but the War Soul sword had already left his hand and flew over his head, arriving behind him. His retreating momentum did not decrease as he coincidentally collided with the War Soul sword. Puffed. The tip of the War Soul sword pierced through his chest, causing him to scream miserably. His movements suddenly stopped as he looked at the War Soul sword on his chest in shock. I actually died in your hands. The Sky Emperor will not let you off. Yamamoto roared with a sinister expression. Tang Zheng sneered. Your men have all been annihilated. How could your Sky Emperor know that I did it? Puff. Yamamoto was so angry that he spat out a large mouthful of blood. His eyes gradually dimmed, and in the end he lost all signs of life. Tang Zheng waved his hand and retracted the War Soul sword. Li Xiaotian looked at him with a complicated gaze and said, Tang Zheng, I really underestimated you in the past. Tang Zheng laughed. He did not comment. He turned and stared at the Kuei cow. He was the only one left. He had to get rid of this demonic beast as soon as possible, because he could already feel that his strength was rapidly weakening. It was obvious that the power of the Beast King's blood essence was being rapidly consumed by him. Rumble. Suddenly, the earth shook and the mountains shook. In the darkness, a powerful force came from all directions. Chapter 249. The two of them trembled at the same time as they looked into the distance. Although they could not see clearly, that terrifying aura caused their hearts to palpitate. Fairy! Ha! You're dead meat. The Kuei cow laughed sinisterly. The two of them looked at each other and said, Let's go. Prehistoric Heavenly Tomb was too mysterious. There was more than one tomb, and just one Beast King had experts like the Demon Commander and the Kuei cow under him. The other tombs definitely had tomb keepers, and from the looks of it, They were even more powerful than the demon commander. Just now, the demon commander did not need to self-destruct, but when he did, it was precisely to burn his own life and attract reinforcements. The reinforcements had arrived, and they were reinforcements that Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian could not afford to offend. Before we leave, let's take care of this problem first. Tang Zheng was afraid that the Kuei cow would find trouble with the witch clan again, so he quickly arrived in front of the Kuei cow. Last time, the Kuei cow escaped without a trace. This time, even without the help of the stone guardian god, Tang Zheng still made it impossible for the Kuei cow to escape with the help of the remaining Beast King's blood essence. Seeing that Tang Zheng was filled with killing intent, the Kuei cow wanted to escape, but it was powerless. In the end, it could only watch as Tang Zheng chopped off its head. At this time, the pressure had already arrived in front of him. Tang Zheng kept his battle soul back into his sword, then leaped up and rode on the heavenly horse. He shouted Jia Xian and galloped forward. However, before he could take a few steps, another person appeared behind him. Li Xiaotian actually jumped onto the back of his horse, sticking close to his back, and quickly left the scene. Tang Zheng felt a soft body pressing down on his back, especially the too towering softness that made his heart restless. This woman has a lot of assets. Li Xiaotian did not notice at all that the two of them were in such an ambiguous position, allowing Tang Zheng to enjoy the ecstasy of a chest massage. She turned her head to look behind her. In the distance, there was a black mass that even the moonlight could not penetrate. She did not know what it was. Roar, roar, roar. Suddenly, a series of angry roars sounded. Both of them felt a chill in their hearts at the same time. Even Tang Zheng temporarily forgot about the ecstasy of the massage. He still had a lingering fear in his heart. The anger in this voice is self-evident. Fortunately, we ran quickly. Otherwise, it would be terrible if we were blocked. The heavenly horse galloped, and Tang Zheng did not know where it was going. He only felt that the yin qi in the world seemed to be getting thicker and thicker, so thick that it seemed to be impossible to dissolve. Suddenly, the number of tombstones in front of them decreased, and a small forest appeared. These trees were pitch black, and the leaves and trunks were no exception. It was as if they had completely merged with the night. If it weren't for their superior eyesight, they would have crashed into the tree trunk. Huff! Tang Zheng suddenly pulled on the reins, and the heavenly horse stopped. The angry roar could no longer be heard, and the heart-palpitating pressure had completely disappeared. However, the two of them still did not relax. Li Xiaotian urged, "Why did you stop? Quickly take us away from this damn place." Tang Zheng remained unmoved. He stared at the strange forest, his face revealing a look of joy. Li Xiaotian looked at him in astonishment, followed his gaze, and landed on the forest, asking suspiciously, "What are you looking at?" "Heaven Yuan fruit." Tang Zheng secretly shouted. He soared into the air and directly jumped onto a big tree. "Hey, what are you doing? Hurry up and leave. What's there to see in these trees?" Li Xiaotian said angrily. What if they delayed for too long and the pursuers came? Li Xiaotian, who was not afraid of anything, was a little afraid this time. This place was too strange. The pre-celestial stage was considered an expert outside, but he could not run amok here. Tang Zheng ignored her thoughts and quickly shuttled through the forest. "Are you kidding me? This is the Heaven Yuan fruit tree that the elder described, but there isn't a single fruit. Damn it!" Tang Zheng was indignant. Could it be that these fruit trees have no fruit? Then where am I going to find the Heaven Yuan fruit? He couldn't help but frown. Li Xiaotian guessed. "Are you looking for something?" "Fruit. I need the fruits on these trees urgently." Tang Zheng said. "Fruit?" Li Xiaotian looked at the dense fruit trees in shock and asked, "What do you want the fruit for?" "It's urgent." Tang Zheng did not say that Fang Shishir had been poisoned by the snake poison. From the bottom of his heart, he did not want to expose the witch clan to her, so the orphan hid the truth. Li Xiaotian curled his lips and said, "No matter how urgent it is, can it be compared to escaping for your life? If you want to escape, no one will stop you. Don't disturb me from looking for something," Tang Zheng said snappily. Humph. You want to send me away just like that? No way. Tang Zheng, let me tell you, you are actually a cultivator, and you even appeared here. You have too many secrets, I must find out. Li Xiaotian said solemnly. Lunatic, what obligation do I have to tell you my secrets? Hee, the people of the Li sect are interested in all secrets. Furthermore, you are a cultivator. You must know that the martial sect is a mortal enemy of cultivators. If they know your identity, then what do you think the consequences will be? Li Xiaotian laughed sinisterly. Tang Zheng was startled. No matter what, he would never have thought that he would meet this woman in the Forbidden Grounds. If he did not reveal his identity as a cultivator here, he would not be able to survive. This big secret that he had kept for a long time was actually known by her. Tang Zheng really wanted to kill her to silence her. But now, the power of the Beast King's blood essence in his body had weakened by a lot, and he was no longer Li Xiaotian's opponent. But Li Xiaotian did not know this, and thought that Tang Zheng was like her in the past, deliberately hiding his strength. So even if Tang Zheng did not have a good expression, she did not act out. Seeing that Tang Zheng did not speak, Li Xiaotian proudly said, "So obediently answer my questions. Don't provoke me. First question, what are you looking for?" Heaven origin fruit. Tang Zheng said truthfully. What is it used for? Detoxification. Who was poisoned? Li Xiaotian curiously asked. Seeing that Tang Zheng was silent again, she had a flash of inspiration and said, "Could it be that Fang Shi was poisoned?" Tang Zheng said that this woman's guess was very accurate. Seeing that Tang Zheng did not say a word, Li Xiaotian continued, "It's Fang Shi, right? You are inseparable from her, and you are willing to leave her here. It must be because of her. How did she get poisoned? What poison did she get? How do you know about this place?" You asked too many questions. Tang Zheng really wanted to roll his eyes. Why did this woman like to ask until the end of everything? You don't want to say it, right? I have my ways of knowing. You should tell me what the fruit looks like first, and I'll look for it with you. This place is not safe after all, so the best thing to do is to find the fruit and leave this place as soon as possible. Tang Zheng's heart moved. He had to admit that she was right. So he described the appearance of the heaven origin fruit, and the two of them started to search together. The leaves of the fruit tree were very lush, and the heaven origin fruit was the same color as the leaves, black, so it was extremely difficult to find. After a long time, Li Xiaotian shouted, "I found it! Look, is this it?" Tang Zheng was overjoyed and hurriedly came to her tree. Sure enough, under the cover of the lush leaves, there was a fist-sized black fruit. Heaven origin fruit, I finally found it. Tang Zheng was overjoyed and quickly and carefully plucked it, and then put it into his sumaru pouch. Li Xiaotian saw that the heaven origin fruit in his palm had silently disappeared, and was shocked. "Where's the fruit? Where did it go?" "I put away," Tang Zheng said. Li Xiaotian looked at him in disbelief, and said, "How is that possible? I clearly didn't see you do anything. How did the fruit disappear?" Tang Zheng jumped down the tree, too lazy to explain. Li Xiaotian chased after him relentlessly, and asked, "Could it be that you know magic?" Tang Zheng curled his lips and scoffed. Magic was a lie. It was a fake trick, and he was truly capable. However, he did not have the intention to show off, and directly sat on the heaven horse. Li Xiaotian flipped onto the horse again, her full breasts once again pressing against his back, as if she did not notice this ambiguous posture at all. The heaven horse galloped quickly. After walking for a long time, the two of them discovered a cruel reality. They were lost. The prehistoric heavenly tomb was too big, and they couldn't see the end of it. Furthermore, they didn't take the original path, so how could they walk out of this tomb? As the saying goes, an old horse knows the way, but this was the first time the heaven horse had come to the forbidden area, so it didn't know the way out. Li Xiaotian turned pale with fright and said, "Are you kidding me? You don't know the way, and you still dare to walk around randomly. What should we do now? This prehistoric heavenly tomb is filled with danger. What if we meet a strong enemy?" Tang Zheng was silent. This was indeed a very troublesome problem. Didn't you brag that the Li Palace's intelligence work is very good? Do you know that there is no way out once you enter? Li Xiaotian coldly snorted. Just now, you brought me out of my original location and direction. Where am I supposed to find the way now? Suddenly, that heaven-shaking might faintly came over again, and the two of them had stern expressions on their faces at the same time. Tang Zheng said, Since you have no way, then I will treat a dead horse as a living horse. If we can walk out, then consider it our luck. If we can't, then it will depend on our own luck. Tang Zheng summoned his battle soul, and the battle soul walked at the front, heading in the direction with the least amount of yin qi. This was the only method Tang Zheng could think of. With pursuers behind him, he did not have the time to think about it carefully. Li Xiaotian looked at the tall figure of the battle soul and said, Why do you have such a thing in your sword? Tang Zheng did not say a word. Hey, do you have to be so stingy? Tell me, that guy just now said that this big guy is an evil spirit. Could it be that this is really an evil spirit? I heard that evil spirits don't have much consciousness and will attack indiscriminately. How could he listen to you? Also, could this sword of yours be a legendary magic treasure? You actually know the Imperial Sword technique. What is your cultivation level now? Is it the Foundation Establishment stage or the Anidia realm? Tang Zheng said in surprise. You know quite a bit. This was the first time Tang Zheng had met a martial artist who knew so much about cultivators. Li Xiaotian said complacently, Of course, I am the Holy Maiden of Li Palace. I know more than you can imagine. Don't think that I won't know if you don't tell me. Since you know, then don't ask me. Stingy. Li Xiaotian curled her lips. Suddenly, the two of them went silent at the same time and turned their heads at the same time. They saw a black mass behind them, and the moonlight had disappeared. That earth-shattering pressure was getting closer and closer to the two of them. Chapter 250. Vaguely, the two of them finally saw what that terrifying pressure was. Who knew what was hidden inside a black cloud, causing the two of them to feel uneasy. Battle Soul, quick, leave this place. Tang Zheng urged loudly. Whiz whiz. The Battle Soul and the Heavenly Horse quickly rushed forward one after another. The black cloud seemed to have discovered them and quickly floated over. Angry roars came out from the black cloud, causing people's ears to buzz. They're catching up. Hurry up, hurry up. Li Xiaotian urged. The Heavenly Horse leaped and actually jumped a few meters away. As soon as it landed, the two people on the horse felt a bumpy feeling. Normally, even if the Heavenly Horse was very fast, it would not have such a strong, bumpy feeling. Li Xiaotian screamed in shock and subconsciously hugged Tang Zheng. The two bodies hugged each other tightly, and Tang Zheng could clearly feel the two lumps of towering peaks. However, this was not the time to enjoy it. His heart was hanging high in the air. Xiao Bai, on the other hand, was completely different from the two of them. This little guy stood on Tang Zheng's shoulder, hugging Tang Zheng's head infinity while baring his teeth at the black cloud. It was not fear, but provocation. Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian could not help but be flabbergasted. This little guy was too heartless, he actually did not know how to be afraid. Whoosh whoosh. A gust of cold wind blew over, and the two of them felt as if they had fallen into an ice cave. Their entire bodies were cold, and the black cloud had finally floated above their heads. Crack! A ray of light flashed through the black cloud, and a bolt of lightning directly descended from the black cloud, striking towards them. Lightning! The two of them turned pale with fright. Even though they boasted that they were extraordinary, they were still mortals after all. If they were struck by lightning, they would definitely die. At the critical moment, the Heavenly Horse's agility played a role. It leaped to the left and narrowly dodged the attack. Boom! A large crater was blasted out of the ground by the lightning, and the momentum on the ground turned into fine powder. The two of them were extremely shocked. To be struck to death by lightning, this kind of death was too sullen. Zheng Yi, the lightning in the black cloud, flickered again. The two of them wanted to cry, but had no tears. It was not over yet. They did not know what was in the black cloud. It could actually use such a big move like lightning. Boom! Another bolt of lightning fell beside them, and the hairs on their bodies stood up. They could even vaguely feel a small electric current flowing into their bodies, causing them to shiver. Look ahead, the entrance to the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Li Xiaotian suddenly pointed to the front, and Tang Zheng raised his head to look. Sure enough, under the guidance of the war spirit, they had actually escaped to the entrance. He hurriedly kept his war soul back into his sword and urged his horse to gallop. Heavenly horse, hurry up, otherwise we will become barbecued human meat. Whoosh! The heavenly horse's speed had once again increased by a level. Tang Zheng could feel that every cell in its body had been mobilized, and it was already overdrafting its strength. But at this juncture, there was no other way. Boom! Another bolt of lightning landed beside them, and a shockwave almost overturned the Pegasus. Fortunately, the Pegasus had strong stamina and managed to stabilize its body. Whoosh! The heavenly horse soared into the air and crossed the entrance. However, it did not stop and continued to run. Suddenly, the two of them felt that the pressure had lessened a little. They immediately turned their heads to look, only to see that the dark cloud was floating above the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Lightning was continuously flashing about, and then the angry roars of disbelief continued to ring out. This black cloud doesn't seem to be able to leave the prehistoric heavenly tomb, Li Xiaotian said, overjoyed. Tang Zheng also felt a sense of relief after surviving a calamity. He pulled on the horse's head and said, "Yes, we're safe now." The two of them heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. Looking at the black cloud from afar, the two of them really wanted to figure out what exactly was inside the black cloud. It was truly inconceivable that it could actually control lightning. Li Xiaotian smacked her lips and muttered to herself, "I used to think that the intelligence of the Li Palace covered all the information in the world, but now I realize how shallow I am. In this place, the information of the Li Palace is pitifully little, not even a word. What is that guy in the black cloud? I don't know anything about it." As she spoke, she couldn't help but lower her head in dejection, as if she had suffered a huge blow. Tang Zheng curled his lips and said disapprovingly, "I don't know how powerful Li Palace is, but in this world, who doesn't have a person or an organization who dares to say that they know everything? The world is so big, there are all kinds of strange things, and many things are beyond your imagination." Li Xiaotian laughed. "You know quite a bit. Stop dawdling. Quickly leave this place. Seeing this tomb, I have goosebumps all over my body." The heavenly horse slowed down and ran out of the forbidden grounds. The journey was unimpeded. They did not encounter any demonic beasts, nor did they encounter any miasma. When they arrived in front of the gigantic stone tablet, the two of them finally heaved a sigh of relief. This forbidden area was indeed too dangerous. The two of them knew that they had thought too simply of this place in the past, especially Tang Zheng. Even though he had heard about the dangers of the forbidden area from the elders, he still did not put it in his eyes. He thought that since he could contend against those demonic beasts, then there wouldn't be too much of a problem. Only now did he understand that the demonic beasts in the forbidden area were the weakest existences, and there were other powerful existences that he could not imagine. Especially those tombstones. It was hard for him to imagine what kind of identity their owners had when they were alive. Such a place, where countless experts resided, was without a doubt a huge treasure trove, but it was not something that an ordinary person could control. At least, Tang Zheng did not have the ability to do so at the moment. When the two of them stood in front of the stone tablet and looked at the four bright red words, "Death to all intruders," they finally understood the power contained within. This was not a joke. Intruders were practically dead, and for them to be able to escape, it was truly the descent of the goddess of luck. The two of them sighed with emotion. Li Xiaotian's expression changed. She extended her white palm and said, "Where's my heaven-shocking bow? Hurry up and take it out." Tang Zheng's head shook. This woman was indeed not easy to deal with. She wanted to ask for the heaven-shocking bow the moment she escaped danger. Since the heaven-shocking bow had entered his pocket, Of course, she would not let it go. Thus, he simply said, I lost it. What? Lost? You actually threw away such a divine weapon? Are you kidding me? Li Xiaotian roared in exasperation. Tang Zheng shrugged his shoulders and said, You chased me so closely, I hid under a tombstone, and then I was chased after. How could I have the time to retrieve it? But if you are brave enough, I don't mind telling you where it is, and you can go and retrieve it yourself. Li Xiaotian panted with anger. His face flushed red, and said, This is too much. Didn't you promise me before that if I helped you resist the demon commander, you would give me the heaven-shocking bow? Did I say that? Tang Zheng smiled faintly. You already said it. Do you still want to go back on your word and not admit it? A man. If you dare to do it, you will dare to do it. Tang Zheng sighed and laughed. Didn't you promise Xiao Lung at that time? And then you turned around and sold him? Li Xiaotian said indifferently. Believing a woman's words, especially a beautiful woman like me, isn't that too stupid? Don't you know that beautiful women like to lie? Tang Zheng shook his head speechlessly, finding it hard to understand her logic. You are a man, so you should keep your promise. Do you know that? Li Xiaotian lectured angrily. Tang Zheng said innocently, I am a man of my word. I am not lying. You can recall what I promised you earlier. I mean, if you help me resist the demon commander, I will tell you where the heaven-shocking bow is. I will tell you now, but you do not dare to take it. Li Xiaotian's eyes gradually widened, and in the end he was dumbstruck. He pointed at Tang Zheng and said, You actually set a trap for me? Haha, same here. Looking at her, Tang Zheng's mood was exceptionally good. Li Xiaotian, you also have this day. Li Xiaotian really wanted to kill him, but when he thought about how he killed the demon commander, he couldn't help but feel anxious. This brat was pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. I might not be his match. However, she did not know that the power of the Beast King's blood essence in Tang Zheng's body had already been exhausted, and he was no longer her match. Moreover, killing him would be letting him off too easily. He's the first cultivator I have met, and there are so many secrets on his body. If I don't squeeze out his secrets, how could I let this go? Li Xiaotian thought silently. Looking at her malicious eyes, Tang Zheng asked, You're not thinking of informing the martial sect, are you? TCH, informing the martial sect. Why would I do such a thing? What does it have to do with me that they kill cultivators? Li Xiaotian snorted. Tang Zheng's heart moved. This meant that not all martial artists saw cultivators as a thorn in their side. If that was the case, then his own danger was not small. At least he didn't have to worry about the Mysteriously Palace and the Azure Dragon Palace. What kind of conflict do cultivators and the martial sect have? Why do they want to capture cultivators and not let them go? Tang Zheng asked curiously. It's all in the past. It's not worth mentioning. However, if you want to know, I can tell you, but you have to use other things to exchange for it, such as this little guy. Li Xiaotian's eyes turned and stared at Xiao Bai. Tang Zheng immediately hugged Xiao Bai in his arms and looked at her with caution, saying, No way. I don't care about your information. I can investigate it myself in the future. As long as he was sure that the other party would not tell the martial sect, then he would not be able to do anything. Why are you so stingy? This is a fair trade. Li Xiaotian looked at Xiao Bai with a burning gaze. The scene of her spitting fire was still fresh in his mind. This little guy was too powerful. If she could raise such a mysterious holy beast, how cool would that be? Xiao Bai understood her words, bared his teeth, and shouted angrily at her, as if he could spit fire at any time. Tang Zheng patted its head, indicating for it to calm down, and then said, Anyway, I've already brought you out. Let's part ways now. Each of us will go our own way. I hope we won't meet again in the future. How is that possible? You lost my heaven-shocking bow, and you want to leave just like that? Li Xiaotian was unhappy. It's your own fault for being weak. If you don't go and find it, what does it have to do with me? I'm leaving. Let me tell you, if you dare to chase after me, then be careful that I don't tell Xiao Bai to spit fire at you. At that time, you will become an ugly person. Tang Zheng threatened. Li Xiaotian was enraged. Are you still a man? How dare you treat a great beauty like me like this? Tang Zheng shrugged his shoulders and said, whether I'm a man or not, I don't need you to question me. Moreover, I don't have the obligation to treat you well, so goodbye, no, never see you again. With that, Tang Zheng mounted his horse, while Xiaobai stood on his shoulder, baring her teeth at Li Xiaotian, as if it would spit fire the moment she got close. She was very unwilling, but there was nothing she could do, so she stomped her feet fiercely. Tang Zheng was still worried that she would catch up and discover the secret of the witch clan, so when he saw the miasma floating towards him, he was overjoyed. He shouted, "Jia!" and rushed straight into the miasma, disappearing into the miasma, causing Li Xiaotian to have no way of tracking him down. She was so angry that she cursed out loud. Smelly Tang Zheng, damn Tang Zheng, I will definitely find you. I will definitely make you accompany my heaven-shocking bow. Don't even think about escaping from this beauty's hands. Chapter 251. It had been a few days since they returned to the witch tribe from the Forbidden Grounds. The heaven origin fruit had cured Fang Shishir of the snake poison, and Tang Zheng had also told the elders about everything that had happened in the Forbidden Grounds. Sogu 360 Soso searched JDXS to download a novel for free. The elder was shocked. The witch tribe's big neighbor was actually so powerful. Fortunately, no one from the witch tribe had barged into the Forbidden Grounds in the past few years. Otherwise, they would have suffered heavy losses. The elders did not know much about the tombs in the Forbidden Grounds, but without a doubt, there were still many secrets in the Forbidden Grounds that they did not understand. Both sides were very curious about what these secrets were, but for the time being, there was nothing they could do. They were not strong enough, so going to the Forbidden Grounds would only be sending them to their deaths. Especially the last black cloud that released the lightning. It made Tang Zheng rather fearful. However, this trip to the Forbidden Grounds had yielded a lot. Other than Tang Zheng finding the heaven origin fruit for Fang Shishir, the most important thing was to find out the reason why the demonic beasts had attacked the witch clan. Since the Beast King's subordinates had been completely annihilated, then no one would come to find trouble with Xiaobai in the future, and the witch clan would naturally be safe. Without any external threats, the witch clan could live in peace in the 10,000 huge mountains. They could cultivate diligently and accumulate strength, waiting for Tang Zheng to bring them to the outside world in the future. After returning to the witch tribe, Tang Zheng did not stay idle and started to cultivate diligently. With sufficient demonic beast inner cores, both he and Fang Shishir improved at lightning speed. Fang Shishir's cultivation once again broke through, reaching the 6th grade of the Qi refining stage. Tang Zheng's cultivation was even more incredible. Not only did he have the demonic beast inner core, the most important thing was the Beast King's blood essence. Xiaobai had not completely digested the energy contained in that drop of Beast King's blood essence. Other than infusing it into Tang Zheng in the prehistoric heavenly tomb and forcefully raising its fighting strength, it passed the remaining Beast King's blood essence to Tang Zheng bit by bit, allowing him to cultivate while refining the blood essence. Tang Zheng benefited a lot. His strength had actually increased by 3 realms, reaching the 4th grade of the Foundation Establishment stage. If it was in the past, Tang Zheng wouldn't even dare to think about such a speed. This time, he really had a taste of what it meant to have the speed of a rocket. However, as his power increased, the pure yang energy in Tang Zheng's body began to become restless. The purine energy he obtained from Lu Qingmei had long been used up, so if it weren't for Fang Shishir accompanying him, he would have exploded and died. During the day, he cultivated non-stop, and at night, he and Fang Shishir made love to each other. Fang Shishir's immaturity gradually faded, and her beauty was beyond compare. In addition, Xiaobai had also undergone a lot of changes. During this period of time, who was like a gluttonous cat, actually didn't eat anything and just lazily laid in the center of the plaza, basking in the sun, as if it had indigestion. In the end, the fur on its body became whiter and whiter, and even had a sparkling and translucent luster, becoming more and more extraordinary. There was no sun or moon in the mountains, and time always passed very quickly. The summer vacation was about to end, and in these 2 months, the two of them had almost completely disappeared. The communication in the mountains was not smooth, and the two of them only left the mountains once every 10 days to half a month to call their families to report their safety. Although the days in the mountains were very comfortable, it was still time to part ways. Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir rode on the same heaven horse, and beside them was Yi Yuan. This time, the witch clan would not leave the mountain, so they sent Yi Yuan out to take a look at the world. The most important thing was to serve Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was the envoy of the witch clan, and after experiencing so much, his status and prestige were even higher than the elders. However, when the elders saw that he did not even have a single person serving him, they recommended Yi Yuan. Tang Zheng accepted this suggestion. It was not that he really wanted Yi Yuan to serve him, but to bring him out to adapt to the outside world. In the future, he would be able to communicate with the other members of the witch clan. This was more useful than his own teachings. The entire clan stood in front of the huge stone door to send them off. Many of them had tears in their eyes and were unwilling to part with them. The elder kept reminding Yi Yuan to listen to the orders of the envoy and protect the safety of the envoy. Tang Zheng did not doubt in the slightest that Yi Yuan would dare to use his own body to block bullets for him. However, now that his power had increased, there was no need for Yi Yuan to block bullets for him in the outside world. Waving goodbye, the three of them galloped on their horses. Xiaobai stood on the head of the heaven horse and looked ahead, grinning excitedly. Originally, he had planned to leave the little guy in the mountains, but it couldn't bear to part with Tang Zheng and was inseparable from him. Tang Zheng understood its longing, and furthermore, it was indeed difficult for ordinary people to discover its talent, so he brought it along. After walking out of the mountain and arriving at the outskirts of Dianan City, Tang Zheng was not prepared to enter the city. After all, that was the Long family's territory, and since he had promised Long Xinyuan, he would not disturb Mu Hongyin and her mother for the time being. Halfway there, they rented a large truck and only loaded it with Heaven Horse S, allowing Yi Yuan's mount to return to the tribe on its own. Then, the few of them rode on the truck and traveled thousands of kilometers back to ordinary balance. Along the way, Yi Yuan was very silent and did not ask any questions. His eyes, however, were brimming with vigor as he observed the outside world and learned from it. When they arrived at the ordinary balance, Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix, who had already received the notice, were already waiting at the reception point. When they saw Tang Zheng leading a horse down from the carriage, they actually felt a sense of space-time confusion, especially since the three of them were wearing ancient clothes, as if they had transmigrated from ancient times. The two of them quickly walked over and sized up Tang Zheng and the other two. Lin Hu said, "Young Master Tang, did you go to shoot a movie? Why are you dressed like this?" Tang Zheng laughed and said, "I went out for a tour. This is my ethnic costume." The two of them suddenly realized, and the Fire Phoenix praised, "Young Master Tang is really handsome in this outfit, just like an elegant young master, enough to charm thousands of young girls." Tang Zheng's temperament had indeed undergone an earth-shattering change. He was no longer the young and inexperienced student from before. He gave off a very steady, yet amiable feeling, making people involuntarily want to approach him. Hearing that, Fang Shishir looked deeply at Tang Zheng. She had to admit that what the Fire Phoenix said was true. He was indeed becoming more and more charming. She couldn't help but feel happy and a little disappointed. If Tang Zheng was outstanding, he would attract more and more girls, and her position would be in danger. Tang Zheng did not notice Fang Shishir's abnormality and laughed lightly. "Fire Phoenix, you praise me too much." Lin Hu agreed. "Fire Phoenix is not spouting nonsense. Young Master Tang, if I were a woman, I would definitely chase after you." However, after looking at Fang Shishir, who was beside him, he did not continue the topic and instead looked towards Yi Yuan. Yi Yuan's aura was very strong. The aura that he had nurtured from fighting ferocious beasts in the forest all year round was even sharper than the people on the streets. Who is this? People from my hometown have just come out of the mountains. During this period of time, I'll have to ask you to take care of him and let him familiarize himself with the outside world. Also, I'll have to give him a legal identity. Yi Yuan was an unregistered person. He believed that Lin Hu had a way. Lin Hu smiled and said, "This brother must be an expert. It's my pleasure to meet you." Yi Yuan was very proud of his bones. After all, he was the #1 warrior of the Witch clan. Although he was very convinced by Tang Zheng, it did not mean that he would treat others the same way. He lightly glanced at Lin Hu and said, "Lord Envoy, I want to follow you. We have already returned to the big city, so there is no danger. Moreover, your mission is to familiarize yourself with the outside world, so you don't have to stay by my side all the time." Tang Zheng advised. Yi Yuan hesitated for a moment, then nodded in agreement. Lin Hu and the Fire Phoenix looked at Yi Yuan in astonishment. They did not know why he would call Tang Zheng Lord Envoy, but no matter what, this young man must be hiding a lot of secrets. Of course, if Tang Zheng did not say anything, they would not dare to ask around. "And this horse of mine, you must take good care of it," Tang Zheng warned. Lin Hu patted his chest and promised, "Young Master Tang, don't worry. I have already found a professional. I will definitely not treat this divine colt unfairly." The heavenly horse raised its head high and snorted, looking very arrogant. "Zhi Zhi." Suddenly, Xiao Bai called out, as if protesting that it was not introduced. The Fire Phoenix's eyes lit up and said, "Young Master Tang, this puppy is so beautiful. What breed is it?" Xiao Bai glared at the Fire Phoenix and bared his teeth at it, as if he was very angry that it was treated as a puppy. The Fire Phoenix laughed. "So cute." Tang Zheng knocked on Xiao Bai's head. This guy liked to spit fire at every turn. If he did not stop him, he might really turn the Fire Phoenix into a Fire Phoenix. Although Tang Zheng had repeatedly warned Xiao Bai, it was still very dissatisfied with being called a puppy and wanted to immediately spit fire to express its protest. "You're a puppy. What are you angry about?" Tang Zheng reprimanded. Xiao Bai called out twice in grievance, then lay on Tang Zheng's shoulder and drooped its head. Tang Zheng had to repeatedly warn it. Otherwise, if it really spat fire, then it would be very troublesome. He was afraid that the country would capture it and use it as Xiao Bai's guinea pig for research. "It's just a small dog. It's not a valuable breed," Tang Zheng said lightly, answering the Fire Phoenix's question. However, the Fire Phoenix did not think so. This little guy was obviously not ordinary. Just the color of its fur was something she had never seen before, and its pair of fiery red eyes were very intelligent, as if it could understand human language. In short, the person and two animals that Tang Zheng had brought back this time were not simple. Immediately, her and Lin Hu's reverence for Tang Zheng became even stronger. With such a mysterious boss, no one would have the slightest thought of rebelling. After the few of them bid farewell, Lin Hu and the Fire Phoenix brought Yi Yuan and the Heaven Horse and left. Tang Zheng and Feng Shishir brought Little White home, but they first went to the clothing store to buy 2 sets of clothes to change into. The city was not like the suburbs. The ancient clothes were still too eye-catching. Xiao Bai's cute appearance attracted a lot of praise from the shop assistants, and one of them even went to touch it. If not for Tang Zheng's repeated warnings, it would have already burned down the clothing store. The little guy seemed to have accepted its fate. It drooped its head and imagined itself to be an obedient puppy. Tang Zheng sent Feng Shishir home, then brought Xiao Bai home and impatiently went home. However, just as he reached the door, he met his grandfather, Tang Dahai, who hurriedly opened the door with a face full of panic. Tang Dahai staggered and almost tripped. Tang Zheng immediately supported him. "Grandfather, why are you in such a hurry?" Seeing that it was his grandson, Tang Dahai immediately said, "Little Zheng, you're back. Hurry up and leave. Let's move quickly." "What happened, grandfather?" Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. "Our house. Haunted." Tang Dahai turned around to look at the house, and said in fear. Chapter 252. Haunted. Tang Zheng was taken aback, but he was not afraid. How many ghosts had he seen? This ghost dared to come to his house. That was simply asking for death. Pose, Grandpa, I'm here. Don't be afraid. What is going on? Tang Zheng comforted. Tang Dahai trembled as he said, Last night, I was sleeping in a daze and heard a woman's voice. I thought it was an illusion. Then I heard this voice again. I searched for most of the night, but couldn't find it. But then it stopped, and I didn't take it to heart. But just now I heard that voice again. It was actually singing. It was the song Little Apple that was being played in the square downstairs. Little Apple? Tang Zheng's head was filled with black lines, as he almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. Are you kidding me? Could it be that this female ghost is an artist? Even after becoming a ghost, she can still sing. Moreover, she can sing a divine song like Little Apple. Grandpa, wait a moment. I'll go in and take a look. Tang Dahai quickly stopped him and firmly said, No, it's haunted. We won't live here. What are you going in for? What if the ghost hurts you? Tang Zheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Grandpa's fearless personality was actually afraid of ghosts. So he explained, Grandpa, you see, it's broad daylight. Moreover, I'm full of yang qi. When the ghost sees me, she can't wait to hide. How would she dare to harm me? Tang Dahai hesitated. Tang Zheng opened the door and walked in with large strides. Little White jumped down from his shoulder and stood up straight, also listening attentively. There was no sound. He hadn't taken 2 steps when suddenly a woman's voice sounded. It really was singing Little Apple. It was many times better than the original. The voice was mellow and clear like a lark. There really is a ghost. Tang Zheng couldn't help but be curious. What kind of ghost dared to come to his house? Today he must catch this ghost. Following the voice, Tang Zheng and Xiao Bai came to his bedroom. It was empty and very clean. It could be seen that during his absence, Grandpa often cleaned the house. The voice came from the balcony. A ray of sunlight shone on the balcony. Tang Zheng's gaze fell on the flower pots. At that time, in order to hide the 300-year-old ginseng, he also bought some other flowers and plants to hide. These flowers and plants grew very well, but Tang Zheng saw the pot of ginseng at a glance. Originally, the pot was bare with only soil, but now a few green leaves grew out of it. They swayed gently as if they were dancing to the song. Tang Zheng was dumbfounded. There was no wind now, and the other flowers and plants were motionless. Only these few leaves were swaying. This was very strange. What was even stranger was that the song was coming from the flower pot. Tang Zheng felt as if he had just woken up from a dream. How is this a ghost? This voice clearly belonged to the little ginseng ling. He had not heard this voice for a long time, so he did not recognize it immediately. Xiao Bai dashed to the side of the flower pot and opened its small mouth to bite the leaves. Linger turned pale with fright and screamed, You're not allowed to eat me. Stop. Tang Zheng hurriedly hugged Xiao Bai. This little guy's movements were too fast. If he really ate Linger, then he would vomit blood. Master, you're back. Linger hasn't seen you in so long. I've missed you so much. Linger cried out in joy after surviving a calamity. Tang Zheng looked at the flower pot and said, Linger, when did you grow leaves? Last night. Linger happily said, Master, Linger is too happy. I have leaves again. Linger has not had leaves for many years. Saying this, the leaves swayed a few times, seeming very excited. But why are you speaking so loudly? Tang Zheng still remembered that at that time. Linger's voice was very soft. He almost did not hear it and directly refined her into a spirit-gathering pill. Linger feels that my spiritual power has increased a lot, so my voice is naturally loud. Tang Zheng suddenly realized that Linger was a medicine spirit and had a pure mind. She did not know that if she spoke so loudly, even Tang Dahai could hear it. That was why she thought that the voice was a female ghost. Master, Linger will sing for you, okay? Downstairs, they sing this every day. Linger thinks it's very nice. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly and said, don't sing. If you like listening to songs, then I'll find you something else in the future." He really did not want the pure Linger to be led astray by this kind of divine song. Linger heard this and excitedly shouted, "Really? Master is too good to Ling." Xiaobai rolled his big eyes and licked his tongue as if he wanted to swallow Linger at any time. Looking at this foodie, Tang Zheng could not help but hit his head and said, "This is Linger. You can't eat it, understand?" "Gigi," Xiaobai called out, expressing his dissatisfaction. "Little Zheng, are you talking to that female ghost? Why is she still calling you master?" Tang Dehai trembled as he came behind Tang Zheng and asked in a frightened voice. Tang Zheng was shocked. He was so focused on talking to Linger that he actually forgot about his grandfather. This time, the entire conversation was heard by him. His mind was spinning as he carefully thought about how to deal with it. Sooner or later, he would tell his grandfather about his identity as a cultivator. Moreover, his body was becoming more and more mysterious. In the future, if he suddenly told his grandfather everything, he was afraid that he would not be able to accept it. It was better to take this opportunity to tell him a little bit of things so that he could adapt. He stood up and looked at Tang Dehai and said, "Grandfather, our family does not have a female ghost." That voice was not a female ghost, it was Linger. Who is Linger? Tang Dehai was confused. Tang Zheng picked up the flower pot and said, "It's her, ginseng." A human talking? Tang Dehai was stunned. Then wouldn't she have become a spirit, a demon? Finished speaking, he stared straight at the flower pot. It was hard to imagine that his family had been raising a ginseng spirit. Tang Zheng nodded his head. All things in the world, some coincidences can become spirits. This ginseng coincidentally became a spirit. She is a medicine spirit called Linger. She will not harm people. Tang Dehai was still in shock as he said in a low voice, "How can a demon not harm people?" Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. "Grandfather, that is the nonsense of ignorant people. Demons are also divided into good and bad. I am Linger's master. How could she harm me?" Linger seemed to understand, but said seriously, "Linger will definitely not harm master. Linger will always protect master." Tang Dehai looked at Linger in disbelief. The voice did indeed come from the flower pot. His face became bitter as he said, "Little Zheng, this is too dangerous." Tang Zheng patted his shoulder and comforted him. "Grandfather, you don't have to worry. Linger is really not in danger. Not only will she not harm me, she will also not harm you. Linger, this is my grandfather. You have to respect grandfather more than me. Do you understand?" Linger said, "In Master orders Linger. Linger will definitely do it. Moreover, grandfather, you used to water me. How could Linger harm you?" Tang Dehai let out a sigh of relief. He carefully looked at it, but he still felt that it was all like a dream. "Linger, in the future, no one in the family can speak carelessly. Otherwise, it will not be good to scare others. More importantly, you cannot expose yourself and attract bad people to catch you." Tang Zheng warned. Linger screamed in fear and said, "Linger will not dare to do it again. Linger does not want to be caught." Tang Zheng comforted her for a while, then put down the flower pot and returned to the living room with his grandfather. Linger's voice finally disappeared. When the grandfather and grandson talked about their own matters, Tang Dehai's heart finally calmed down. The old man had long known that Tang Zheng's ability was getting bigger and bigger, so after the initial shock, he gradually got used to it. He now lived a very fulfilling life every day. Most of the time, he was at the junkyard, dedicated to helping the city's scavengers with a group of old buddies. He had already gained a small reputation. Some of the scavengers in ordinary balance also came to sell things to him. This made some of the other junkyard very dissatisfied, but with the previous example, many people understood that the background of this junkyard was not simple. Moreover, every few days they would see people wandering around the junkyard but not collecting protection fees, but providing protection. As a result, no one dared to cause trouble, and the business became more and more prosperous. Tang Dehai didn't care how much money he earned. What he cared about was letting the people in this line of work live with a little dignity. Tang Jing also briefly talked about some travel experiences. Of course, he omitted those soul-stirring scenes, but it also made the old man listen with relish. Suddenly, Tang Dahai slapped his thigh and said, I almost forgot an important thing. Wait a moment, I'll go get it for you. Tang Zheng was very curious about what it was. Not long later, Tang Dahai took out a courier bag and walked out. Little Zheng, this is your Yinqing University's admission letter. Tang Zheng calmly took it out and took a look. He got his wish of Yinqing University's archaeology department's admission letter. When he first filled in this application, many people were puzzled. He was the top scorer in the provincial college entrance examination, so it was not a problem for him to fill in any major. Many people filled in finance and computer science, and very few people would choose archaeology. Tang Zheng had his own considerations. Learning other majors was not of much use to him. The history of cultivators had a long history, and wasn't archaeology the discovery and study of ancient things or things? It just suited him. Little Zheng, during the time you left, there were still a lot of reporters blocking the entrance of our community wanting to interview you. I even went out to avoid the limelight for a few days. Later, the overwhelming news about Takashi came out, and those reporters left resentfully. Now, Takashi is a celebrity. He is a business card of ordinary balance. It is said that he was also admitted to Yinqing University. You will still be classmates in the future. Tang Dahai said. Tang Jing's heart moved. He had questioned Takashi face to face, but this kid did not say anything. Later, Tang Zheng went to Dianan, and this matter was left unsettled. Tang Zheng was not jealous that this kid stole the limelight of his top scorer, because this limelight was not what he wanted. He had an intuition that Takashi was not as simple as he looked on the surface. This person was even more sinister and difficult to deal with than Xiao Fei. However, Takashi did not have any obvious evidence that could be used against him. For the time being, he did not have a better solution. Moreover, Takashi was so famous now, and his mouth was so tight. Tang Zheng could not just kill him directly. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.